high school in Georgia. Of course, that was the major story yesterday. We'll also have a look at Donald Trump and Sean Hannity's town hall meeting. Thank you for joining us, and blessed to be with you. And it is truly a blessing to have this opportunity to share our time together, however long or however short it may be. And, I was just reminiscing with our old friend John Mounts as we prepare for our September 11th show. September 11th show is going to be a challenge this year, considering we've got the big debate between Vice President Harris and President Trump. It's kind of odd to say that, Vice President Harris and President Trump. We will take a look at that, and that will be on September 11th. But September 11th is a sacred day for all of us here in this country. And it is a day that we will always remember. And I know a lot of people, a lot of the Gen Zs or the younger end of the millennials don't remember September 11th, but I worked September 11th. I was doing what I am right now. I was hosting a talk show. The part of Bo was being played by John Mounts, about Bo's age at the time. Of course, I was much younger, 20 years younger as well, 23 years younger. But, it was a time in our lives that we have to remember. And so many times now we see it on television. We see it everywhere else where they just kind of compartmentalize September 11th. And one thing that I will say about the folks here is that they've always said, dude, you run wild. Now, sometimes we may have trouble with the signal. Sometimes the phones may not work, but you run wild, Kevin Miller. Even when the libs tried to shut us down, they said, nope, Kevin, keep going. So we will keep going. And as I was preparing for the September 11th show with John Mounts yesterday, we started talking about the love of radio and the love of Rush Limbaugh. And that many people say, well, Rush Limbaugh couldn't work today because we have podcasts. And today's Rush Limbaugh is maybe Joe Rogan, who's not a conservative, or Dan Bongino, or Ben Shapiro. And those people are great talents, and they're wonderful, but Rush Limbaugh had no plan B. It wasn't like hiddle and diddle and dibble and dabble. Check out my show here or my website here. Rush Limbaugh loved the radio. And can you imagine loving something so much that you keep doing it until you physically couldn't do it? I mean, think about Rush Limbaugh, that when he lost his hearing, he still did the show. That when his life was being taken from him, he still did the show. When he got the Presidential Medal of Freedom, he still did the show. And that's the magic, that's the legacy, that's the heritage that we honor. Now, Rush Limbaugh was on this station, one of the original affiliates, and then you had corporations that strike deals, and Rush was taken from us. And to really understand Rush, you have to be a ditto head, and it's just like Reagan. We all thought, whether we lived in Iowa or Idaho or Ypsilanti, that we were part of the Reagan Revolution. So in our own way here in Idaho, in the Treasure Valley, we're a part of something. And I honor that legacy by being with you each and every morning. And it just hit me the other day that why isn't, the idea of the magic of the community. And, we all are habits of our circumstances. So today I went on the connector. I took the highway. When I lived in Meridian, I would take that every day. You talk about an insane ride in. I'm in the far right lane going 69, and again, I have these people with these insane, overly bright headlights in these gigantic, enormous pickup trucks. Now, if you can afford a dynamic, enormous pickup truck, that's great, but here in my little sedan, it's not so fun getting your eyes burned every morning. And not to, cue the music to curb your enthusiasm, as I'm driving into my place of business here on KIDO Talk Radio, I got this massive truck. I'm not even out of the subdivision. I got this massive truck with these insane white Nova headlights behind me. And we're coming up to a light, so I pull over to the right and let this guy go. I go, you're not burning my retinas this morning, Billy. So then Billy and I take a left. And then, lo and behold, what happens? I got another guy. Maybe it's a girl. Maybe it's Sally this time behind me with the insane burning white Nova hot headlights. And I'm going, again, curb the curb your enthusiasm theme. And I go, well, you're not going to get me, toots. I'm going to take a right. And then Skippy, in his sedan white Nova-like headlights, and I'm thinking, stop the insanity. Then I take a left and there's somebody else. And then, we talk about, how to reduce your blood pressure, how to reduce your stress. You get on the freeway, as people call it here, or I call it the highway. You get on the highway and it's just insane. Somebody is going to die. I hope that I'm wrong about this, but man, if you travel that each and every day, God bless you. And to the police officer on the Flying Y, who you can't really see because he's a motorcycle police officer. Thank you for your courage, a sentinel of liberty. I mean, imagine being a police officer dressed in black in the dark, trying to stop the stupid speeders that are supposed to be going 60, that are more like going 80 on their way into Boise. Just some observations this morning on KIDO Talk Radio at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So, the reason why I give you this is because I understand, or I try to understand. And look, if you're like somebody driving these big trucks, we have a young lady that drives a cement truck. One of the things that goes, or anywhere else, and these cars are zipping in and out. It's just insane. And I don't know if it's, too many people from east of the Great River or the Pacific Coast or what have you. But traffic is turning into a high-impact NASCAR, IndyCar, Formula One car like commute in the morning. It's just amazing. So we don't sit there and give you throwaway things. We understand that you're in your car. We're with you every step of the way. And I wish there were a better way to talk more about what happened in Georgia that has really rocked the nation.
The 9 people hospitalized are all expected to survive. Fox News has decided not to name the shooter. We do know the gun used in this shooting was an AR-style weapon, according to the Georgia Bureau of Investigations. And the timeline of the day is, of course, still being investigated. Now, last night, we learned the names of the 4 people who lost their lives. Mason Shimmerhorn, a 14-year-old student, Christian Angelo, a 14-year-old student, and 2 teachers, Richard Aspinwall and Christina Irmi. Now, according to the school's website, the adults were both math teachers, and Aspinwall was also an assistant football coach.
Shot by a 14-year-old. And the 14-year-old will be tried as an adult. And then you think to yourself at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, what do you do with a 14-year-old? We're going to try him as an adult. You're going to try him as an adult. So he's convicted. Does he get the death penalty at 20 or at 24? Think about this. He's on death row for 20 or 10, 20 years. He's still at 44. What causes somebody to do this? What causes somebody to grab a gun and become a hunter?
I was walking out to get water, and I heard gunshots, and I heard bullets going, by my head. So I ran back in class, and I yelled, hey, there's a shooter. They're shooting out there.
Hey, there's a shooter. There's a shooter out there.
I was listening, and you could hear gunshots, just ringing out through the school, and, you're just wondering, which one of those is going to be somebody that you're, best friends with or somebody that you love. And it's really, a terrifying thing.
And obviously, parents, grandparents, step-parents, guardians, or just people that love America, you say to yourself, what can you say? What can you do?
Because it's just so hard to think that somebody that you spent so much time with, because this is my second year with Coach, but spending so much time, you felt like family, basically.
Right. There we have Isaiah Hooks talking about the football team and the assistant coach, Richard Aspinwall, who died at the hands of the 14-year-old shooter. Now, you're going to have people saying America is too violent. You're going to have people saying, let's talk about gun control. But at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, who do you trust? I know the answer in Idaho. And look, I'm not pandering. I'm not pandering at all. But I will say, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, that in Idaho, you can either trust the government and have the no gun in school zones and everything else, or you have people that have taken it upon themselves, vilified by the media, vilified by everybody else, vilified by comedians and everybody else. But they decide they're not going to be the sheep, they're going to be the sheepdog. But I'd like to throw that out to you with respect. And let me just say this, and we'll play more of the clips from Georgia, but because we do have such freedoms here, let's just say a small prayer for the families of those people that were killed, and for the safety of people in America, the safety of our police, our parents, our children. And pray, Lord, that this doesn't happen again. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day your daily bread. And forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. What else can we say? Do we trust the police? Do we trust the authorities? Do we trust the government? Disarm or arm up? What say you? Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
Here today, and what we know up to this point with the investigation. At approximately 10:20 a.m. this morning, the Bexar County Sheriff's Office received alerts about reports of an active shooter and radio traffic from school resource officers concerning the same concern, or having the same concern. Within minutes, law enforcement was on scene, as well as 2 school resource officers assigned here to the school who immediately encountered the subject with just minutes of this report going out. Once they encountered the subject immediately surrendered to these officers, and he was taken into custody. Additionally, what I want you to know as of now, there are 4 individuals who are deceased from this incident, 9 that have been taken to local hospitals with various injuries. Of those that are deceased, 2 are students and 2 are teachers here at the school. The priority right now for us within this investigation is to gather all the facts, to make sure that we're accurate with it, because this is a murder investigation. As the sheriff mentioned earlier this morning, the shooter is in custody. His name is Colt, that's C-O-L-T, Gray. He is a 14-year-old student here at the school, G-R-A-Y. He is a 14-year-old student here at the high school. Again, he has been taken into custody. He will be charged with murder, and he will be tried as an adult and handled as an adult. We're coordinating these charges and obviously this investigation with District Attorney Brad Smith, who is the District Attorney for the Piedmont Judicial Circuit here.
There we have it. So what do you do? By the way, we do understand we're having signal issues, and we've got the team working on it. We apologize for that. Phone number's here, 580-5436. This is where the corporate guy goes, see, Kevin, you should push people to the app. No, we're not pushing people to the app. We're on the radio, and we appreciate everybody joining us. And we appreciate the ability to talk about this. This is something that no one wants to talk about. No one wants to face. A 14-year-old boy did this. And then when the authorities surrounded him, he surrendered. We'd love to get your thoughts on this as we move along. Let's go to Pete in Mountain Home on KIDO Talk Radio with good old Kay Millie. Hello, Pete.
You know, I don't know, what really seems to bug me is 30 seconds after something like this happens, we get the president and the vice president coming out and saying, we got to get rid of all the guns in America. because it's the guns that did it. We blame it on the guns. It was a gun violence. Well, no, it was violence by a warped 14-year-old murderer. And I would like to point out to people, if you want to see what it looks like in a society with really good gun control laws, there's two that I can point out right now. The first one was the October 7 massacre of 1,200 people in Israel, most of them unarmed. I don't think Israel's gun control laws helped there. The other was the Beslan massacre in Russia, which was in a high school, I believe, or a school. 334 people killed. 186 of them were children. Both of these were done by Islamic terrorists. And it's both of those countries, Russia in particular, has excellent gun control laws. I'm sure the Democrat Party in this country would love to have gun control laws like Russia. And basically what you're getting is you get a gun-free zone, which most of our schools are, and what you're saying is, hey, here's where you come do it. This is a free fire zone because nobody will shoot back at you. And I just, I'm sorry. It's horrible for the people that are the victims of people like this, but to turn around and try to blame that on the people in America that are actually good people that own guns that want to defend themselves and others, it just, they seem to do this every time. Anyway, that's what I had this morning.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you. Appreciate that. R&R, hang on. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Robin in for Dave. KIDO Talk Radio Traffic. Good morning, Robin.
Good morning, Kevin. KIDO Talk Radio Traffic from the Idaho Pizza Company studio. Not bad this morning so far. Definitely picking up out of Canyon County. Seeing some heavier traffic on the eastbound freeway and starting to maybe crowd up a little bit more, but it looks pretty good, like most of it is moving. And we've got a light blanket of smoke across the Treasure Valley. At Mike Miniger's Auto Body, they're collision repair specialists, providing high-quality service and world-class craftsmanship while saving you money. Call Mike Miniger's Auto Body. Visit BoiseAutoBody.com. I'm Robin Scott. That's your KIDO Talk Radio Traffic.
Yo. Okay, Millie.
Yo, what's
Love
up,
you.
G? How are you?
Okay, I got 4 daughters, and one of them went to Hotlanta, 22 south and east of Georgia, right out of BYU. And I got to go back there and drive her all the way back to Las Vegas. So I've been to Georgia, Hotlanta.
That's a culture shock.
Here's what I got to say about the shooting. It's a essential state, not a swing state. Once more, Georgia comes to mind. Kamala called it an epidemic. She's a liar and an idiot. There is no epidemic of shooting. Now, I don't want to tear up. Every day on American soil, 37 human veterans murder themselves. Every day on American soil, 37 humans, veterans from Iraq, Iran, Vietnam murder themselves. I love you, K. Millie. Keep it lit.
All right, thank you very much, R&R. Glenn in Napa with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Glenn.
Good morning, Kevin. You know, what happened yesterday is a horrible thing. It's something that should never happen. But when we look at something like this, we need to think about it logically. We need to analyze what the problem is. And if you look at historically, school shootings are a relatively new problem. When you and I were in high school, you never heard of anything like this. And the fact of the matter is, when you and I were in high school, there were less gun laws. guns were easier to get, and school shootings were never a problem. So as we look at these school shootings and try to think about what we need to do to solve them, you have to look inside yourself. You have to look at society and ask yourself, what has changed in the last 30 years in society? Because that's really what's causing these issues. It's not the guns. It's the society. Is it the video games, the violent video games that are out there that desensitize kids to violence? Is it the woke ideology that they're teaching these kids that are doomed to not fulfill their desires? I mean, you look at transgenderism, you tell a kid that he can change his sex and become something else. But that's a lie. That can never truly happen. Some of that was mentioned in the journal of that trans shooter that came out yesterday. We have kids that are not equipped to deal with life. I think it starts with this whole everybody gets a trophy thing. Kids aren't taught to deal with failure and how to overcome failure. If everybody gets a trophy, you know, when they actually have winners and losers, they can't deal with it. And you look at them trying to take God out of schools, God out of society, the things like that. I really think that's a lot of the roots of the problems here. We have a lot more broken families than we used to. Divorce is more normalized than it was in the past. I think these are all things that play into why kids get to the point that they want to go kill other kids. I think part of it, too, is fame. And I applaud Fox News in that clip that you played earlier. They deliberately said they weren't going to mention the name of the shooter. And I think that's something that we need to do. Whoever does these things should never be mentioned again. Never mention their name, so that they don't have that incentive to try to do it to become famous. I had a lot more to say, but I kind of lost some of it waiting in line.
I want to hit you with this, though. What scares the hell out of me is that you have, as Pete from Mountain Home said, here we have the politicians saying you need gun bans and everything else. But what goes on in the mind of a 14-year-old kid that murders these people? And then all of a sudden, when he's surrounded by people that have guns, the same as he does, he surrenders.
He gives up immediately.
Right.
Yeah, as soon as he runs into any resistance. I think we need, if the teachers want to be armed, we need to allow the teachers to be armed. If the faculty want to be able to carry guns, they should be allowed to carry guns. I think that making the schools a gun-free zone has made them targets. It has made them easy targets. And I don't think that there's any case where somebody walked up to the school and said, oh, this is a gun-free zone. I'm not going to go in there and kill anybody because my gun is illegal there. Murder is already illegal. Killing people, there's so many laws that are broken, and for people to think that adding another law is going to stop this is insanity. They've had these gun-free zones 20 to 30 years. Has it made a difference? I would say absolutely not.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have a concealed weapons permit. I've gone to training. I've done a background check. I've done fingerprints. Why should I, someone who's been vetted, not be allowed to carry a gun on campus? You know, that gun is for everybody's protection. And the fact of the matter is that what's the police response time? They said that they were there in a couple minutes and stopped the shooter. Well, the response time of a teacher or a faculty in that school that is armed is seconds compared to the minutes waiting for the police to get there.
Well, and here's the other thing, Glenn, let me hit you with this one, to the people in the gun industry that are vilified all the time.
Oh, yeah. Immediately after the shooting, if you looked at Twitter, you know, oh, the NRA has blood on their hands. There's no individual responsibility taken. It's always blame the tool, blame the person that made the tool, not look introspectively and say, why? What is the root cause? And again, I believe it's the degradation of our society. You know, the morals of our society are decaying. The value of life, I think, is less now than it was before. And really, they're trying to take God out of everything. And I think that if you have somebody that believes in an afterlife, that truly believes in God, and they know that their actions have consequences, and if they make bad choices in this life, they're going to have eternal consequences after. You know, somebody that truly believes that isn't going to go shoot up a school. It's when we take that out of the equation where when I die, I cease to exist, there's no consequences, that it makes it easier for these kids to go do these types of things, because what does it matter?
Yeah.
What does it really matter?
No, I go back to this 14-year-old, and I'm thinking to myself, you're going to do these things and then you surrender? What is?
Yes.
What is the point here? The issue?
I don't know. I don't know if it's just to become famous or infamous. You know, that's some of what I think it is they want to make a statement to society. And it's not this kind of statement we want to see. It's just a horrific thing. And I don't understand how children could get to that point to where they see that as their only option.
Well,
that's really the failings of society.
Right. And what gets me, and I'm on the phone with our great friend, we're going to have Tom Gresham on next hour, what it means for everybody in the gun business.
You know, they're already pushing for gun bans. Guns aren't going to be the solution. There was a post I took a screenshot of about a month ago off of Twitter from the UK government. They've banned guns in the UK. It hasn't stopped the crime. It's changed the tool that's used for the crime. And in this screenshot, they're warning people that they have until a certain date to turn in their what they call zombie knives, or they're going to go to jail. So taking away the guns isn't going to stop the problem. It's just going to change the tool. It's going to change to knives. It's going to change to cars. I mean, can you imagine a teenage kid when the school buses are unloading, taking a pickup and driving through that crowd of kids getting out of the bus? How horrific that would be. So they're not solving the problem by trying to take away the tool. It's not going to fix it. Sure, gun deaths will go down, but you'll still have deaths. You're still going to have horrific things that happens at schools. And, you know, the thing about guns is it doesn't matter your strength to use a gun. It gives the weak power.
Well,
if you go to knives, it depends on your strength and your training.
Well, what gets me, though, is the movies. Remember in the old days, we used to glorify the guy with the gun against the criminals. And today, we can't talk about guns. We can't glorify guns. We can't do anything about guns. And you're going, I'd go back to that society than what we have today.
I'd go back to Dirty Harry.
Yeah, that's what I keep thinking. Well, we're not going to let you get away with this, punk. Yeah. I don't know, Kevin. I think we're starting to fail as a society. It's a societal issue that causes this. It's the evil in the hearts of men. Well, and then thank you, the shadow, yeah. and then we have people that are, using this for their political advantage.
Oh yeah, they hadn't even said what kind of gun it was or anything, and you had David Hogg on there. Just one of the people called it coffin surfing on the dead, pushing his message. It's just horrible that people are making a living grifting off these dead people and pushing their narrative. It's horrific.
Glenn, thank you for the call.
Thanks for let me have time, Kevin.
Appreciate you.
I wish it was under better circumstances.
Me too.
Thank you for the prayer this morning, too.
Glenn, I think of you often during our morning time together. You take care, sir.
I wish I had more time to call in. I'll let you go. I know you probably got a break.
Well, that or people are complaining about the signal. So we all have our problems.
It's bad.
Thanks, Glenn. See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Appreciate that. Sean Hannity today at 1 on KIDO Talk Radio.
KIDO Talk Radio. Turn up your radio. Here's the Sean Hannity Morning Minute.
Trump Vance have done a combined 34 interviews since last month, compared to only 16 minutes and 29 seconds for Kamala Harris and 11 minutes for Tim Walz. And there's so much we do not know about this woman. And the 16-minute interview on fake news CNN, we walk away from that interview. We have no idea that the woman who co-sponsored the Green New Deal in the U.S. Senate, that is on tape saying that she would abandon the filibuster to pass the $93 trillion Green New Deal. We don't know if she still stands by that. How do you call that journalism? That's not journalism.
Check out the Sean Hannity radio show later today, right here.
Hey, protect your home and family. Now, it's a responsibility you cannot take lightly. But starting with deadly force, that should not be your first option, especially given the serious mental, financial, legal consequences that can very well follow. You might want to look at non-lethal force. That's where Burner comes in. It's a non-lethal pistol launcher designed by a group of common-sense gun owners, and it's used for everyday Americans concerned about their personal safety and security. Now, the Burner pistol launcher is equipped with powerful deterrents like tear gas and kinetic rounds. So the Burner launcher can incapacitate an attacker for up to 40 minutes. Now, that's enough time to ensure your family's safety. The Burner launcher is legal in all 50 states. You can ship directly to your door. It's time to join the growing movement. And they always put safety first. Go to their website, byrna.com/Hannity. You'll get 10% off. Watch their videos, byrna.com/Hannity, 10% off. And make the smart choice for you and your family and your safety today.
Thank you, Sean. Heard that. Kevin Mill in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio.
I come from a long line of tough, trailblazing, and phenomenal women. My grandmother would go into villages in India, because she was Indian and lived in India, and she would go to the villages in India. It was a famous story in our family. My grandfather would say she was going to be the end of his career. But my grandmother would go into the villages with a bullhorn, talking with the women about the need to have access to reproductive health care.
There we have it. Kamala Harris talking about her grandmother. A special treat coming up next hour. Tom Gresham will join us from Gun Talk. Remember, we have a double-barreled Gun Talk on Sundays from noon to 3, live, and then from 6 to 9. If you missed it, we love the guns. We love the Second Amendment. And here we have the tragedy of this shooting in Georgia. And for everybody in the gun industry, this is a challenge. You go, Kevin, what about the school shooting? I agree. I agree that this is horrible and horrific, and it's everyone's worst fear. People say, don't say if, but when. Well, do you arm yourself, which I believe that you should? Do you allow these people, I mean, think about what you were doing at 14. Think about what was going on in your mind. And so here you have this person, this little boy, going in, shooting people nonstop. When he's confronted by authorities with weapons, with guns, he surrenders. Now, again, a 14-year-old will be tried as an adult. What do you do with a 14-year-old killer? What do you do with the families of those people? And again, you're going to have people trying to get rid of this program because it's controversial. You're going to have people, because we promote the Second Amendment, which is guaranteed in the Constitution. You're going to have people saying, oh, those gun people, we can't trust them.
In May 2023, the FBI's National Threat Operations Center received several anonymous tips about online threats to commit a school shooting at an unidentified location at time. The online threats contained photographs of the guns. The suspect denied making the threats online, and no probable cause for arrest or to take any additional action by law enforcement. Now, authorities went to the 13-year-old's home then and spoke to his father, who said that he had hunting guns in the house, but his son never had unsupervised access to those guns.
It looks like he did have unsupervised access to the guns. And when you're looking at 580-5436-580-KIDO, kids with guns going into their parents' stash and getting the guns. I don't want to say this, but I will, and I don't know why I'm keeping it a secret. In Caldwell, Idaho, there is one of the most famous gun safe manufacturers in the country. They're called Rhino Safes. You ever heard of them, Bo? Now, Bo, they could probably put you in one of those safes. I don't think they have a gun safe big enough for good old big Kevin Miller here. But they create some of the best gun safes in the world. And if you don't have your weapons secure, are we going to charge the parents like what happened in Michigan? And again, it's too early to judge. And the difference between Kevin Miller when he was Bo's age and Kevin Miller now as a decrepit old man getting ready for his first blazing hot red rascal so he can run around is that there's perspective versus judgment. You can't have your weapons unsecure. And people are going to go, well, Kevin Miller, if it's go time, I can't, get the lock off and go, I need to go. Yeah, but you have a responsibility when you have those weapons to protect yourself, protect society. And let's face it, you don't have to be a brain surgeon to understand that if the FBI comes to your home, chances are you need to lock up your guns. Rick, good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Kevin?
I'm still here, and you? How are you, brother?
I'm good. What I want to talk about is they should take the National Guard and go to all these voting places that, where there's cheating going on, and train the guardsmen and guard to make sure this doesn't happen with the National Guard at every place. That's my idea, and I think it's a good one.
What's your reaction when you first hear of these things?
I just get infuriated that this is going on in this country. When I was a child, and I heard about people cheating on elections in other countries, the United States came down on them hard and said all these horrible things about them. And now we're doing it. It's ridiculous. This should never have happened. And I can't see why people even can, see right through Kamala, if they had any brains at all.
I appreciate you, Rick. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin in Mountain Home on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Kevin.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. First time calling in. I've been listening to you for quite a while every morning now. I just had something to say about the shooting and everybody instantly jumping on gun control. Seems like sometimes I play a game and see how quickly I can find something from the left on gun control. And like the previous caller said, they're really not looking at the root cause. And he really got on a good point about the way society's going. Now you've got these kids that they have no social skills, and their only interaction with other people is social media and online gaming, and it's not the real world, and there's no consequences. So I think it kind of numbs them to real life and real consequences. And
we see that all the time. The president almost gets assassinated. people are killed in Israel. Let's move on to the next one.
You're right, and that story has disappeared really fast, hasn't it?
Well, I mean, the fact that Josh Hawley outed that the Secret Service is still not the Secret Service, and they're, having the audio-visual department treat them how to protect the president.
Right, and they don't have the money to, get the manpower and be able to protect a former president, but yet they can send people, all expenses paid, to Disneyland for an LGBTQ conference.
Oh, and not only that, but you have the DEI Secret Service people. I don't know if you've seen her detail, but it's not the big white guys. And I'm going, good luck with that.
No, I'm all for, if you have the skills and the abilities, then, I don't care your race, gender,
sure,
whatever you are. If you can do the job, you can do the job. I've served in the military for over 30 years. I've worked with lots of women who, work with me side by side and can do, just as good a job. But when you can't properly holster your firearm without looking at your side, then maybe that's not the place for you, or you need more training.
No, I agree. Look, I admire law enforcement. There's a reason why I'm not in law enforcement. I'm not qualified to be in law enforcement. And you wouldn't have somebody like me guarding anybody. And if you can't physically do the job, you shouldn't be there, or mentally, or, you don't have the required skills.
Yeah, that's the problem, all through society, the government, colleges, everything. We've gotten away from the best person for the job, blind of gender, race, creed, anything else. The person with the best scores gets into the university. Person with the best skills and the most experience gets the job. What's wrong with that? Go out and get the skills and experience if you want to advance.
Kevin, the man with the best first name ever, God bless you, and thank you for the call, and thank you for listening, sir.
And God bless what you're doing, keeping conservative ideals alive.
Thank you, Kev. Have a good day.
You too.
News Radio. Mr. Schmelz, how are you?
I'm doing good, Kevin. What's up?
Not bad. Do you mind if I go off topic for a second?
Yeah, do whatever you got to do.
What, if you had to pick the wildest, most insane independent wrestling promotion not known to man, what would it be? Because when you're in your off time, you watch the big shows, but you go to these like dungeon, dreary places like the bingo halls. And I'm not saying this is a smack. I'm just saying it. I wish we had those around here. That's what you do to see these people perform.
Yeah, Mega Championship Wrestling in Northeast Ohio is a good one. Power Slam Pro Wrestling, also in Northeast Ohio, is a good one. They've got both have a pretty solid YouTube channel, so you can watch a lot of their stuff there. Those are probably ones that come to mind right off the top of my head. And there's also Old School Wrestling in Odessa, Texas, which is a prominent promotion too. So those are ones I'd put down.
I'm going to write that down. Mega and Old School, is that right?
And Power Slam.
Power Slam. Fair enough. And Old School. Appreciate that, as if we don't have enough to do. Like I said, back to the YouTube. Anyway, so we have the House Democrats sending a letter to former President Trump saying whether or not he's on the take from the Egyptians.
Right. This comes from a DOJ investigation that was looking into whether or not former President Trump was involved in some type of bribery scheme with Egypt. Pretty much during his 2016 election. The accusation is that Egypt may have given him $10 million for his campaign, and there's some bank records that might show that there was some interesting timing in terms of when former President Trump deposited $10 million and Egypt withdrew $10 million from an account. So the probe was kind of stopped back in 2017 but during the Trump administration when Bill Barr was the Attorney General. So Democrats are kind of following up on this and trying to find out if, in fact, it happened or not.
Right. Of course, we didn't do that, how many years ago? We're going to do this right before the election.
Yeah, of course, the timing is definitely interesting here, and it certainly is kind of one of those things. Okay, well, certainly this is an attempt to get people to talk about this. And I think what's fascinating about it, too, is, maybe it counters a little bit of the Hunter Biden negative news coverage about President Biden and his family's overseas business deals. But also, it's hard to see anything really happening with this because the Democrats do not control the House.
No, the Democrats don't control the House, and that is why it's so important. Are people buzzing about the debate, or is it too early for that?
Definitely. Oh, yeah. We're getting ready. We're getting hyped, Debate season, RTCA dinner. It's next. Congress is back. We got government shutdown season. It's going to be a fun time to be alive.
Ryan, anything else you want to share with us today, brother?
I think we're good. Good question. Football season starts today. Go Ravens.
Ravens, and who you got tomorrow?
Tomorrow's Friday. Does Ole Miss play then?
No, it's the Eagles and somebody. The NFL's going all out, man.
Oh yeah, I forgot they are doing like a game every day now. So I don't know. I forget who they're playing. So my bad.
My bad too, because I can't tell you. Anyway, Ryan Schmelz, we appreciate you, brother.
Hey, thank you, Kevin. Have a great day.
You too. Our great friend Ryan Schmelz joining us. Coming up next, Tom Gresham of Gun Talk. Idaho, Tom Gresham, host of Gun Talk. Catch him live Sundays 12 to 3, and then the replay 6 to 9 on KIDO Talk Radio. Tom, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I was thinking of you because we were getting the reaction to this horrific school shooting, and I thought about, obviously, the victims and people that are worried about the safety. And then I thought about an industry that you've covered, and you're such a part of the gun industry, and how the gun industry and people that, want to protect themselves are going to be vilified, and how you all operate in that.
Well, I was thinking about this and thinking about what do we know, what do we don't know, what do we not know about the Georgia shooting. There are a lot of things we don't know. What we do know is that the FBI knew about this youngster, a year and a half ago. They were interviewing him. So, they knew there was a problem. Once again, it's like they keep saying, well, he was on our radar. Really? And you did nothing about it? Okay, we know that. What else do we know? We know that this was a gun-free zone, which never works. All school shootings are in gun-free zones, and yet the Kamala Harrises of the world want to push the concept of gun-free zones everywhere, making people more vulnerable. Another thing we know, Kevin, guess what? As soon as someone with a gun, a good guy with a gun showed up, the murders stopped. That's what always happens, and it doesn't matter if the good guy with a gun is a man or a woman or is wearing a uniform or not. When a good guy with a gun shows up, the murders stop once again.
Well, that is, and that's what we were talking about, Tom, when, and then this guy surrenders, and you're thinking, what goes on in the psychology of a 14-year-old who does this, and then when the people show up with the guns, he backs down?
I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, and people say, well, why did it happen? How did it happen? What was in his mind? Here's where I've landed. I don't care. Don't care what twisted thing is going on inside of this sick puppy. All I know is I don't want him to kill kids. And you know what? We have not lost a child in a school fire in more than 50 years. Why is that? Because we take that seriously, and we design schools in a way so they don't burn. We could design schools and put the money into them so that we can stop this kind of stuff as well. But we don't have the willpower to do that. We also, in a whole bunch of states now, teachers and staff can carry guns, loaded guns, and guess what? There's not been one school shooting in any of the schools where the teachers and staff can legally carry guns. Not one.
And yet we have people that continue to try to disarm us. And not only that, Tom, but then you have the politicians wanting these assault weapon bans, as you said, that don't even know the facts of the case.
Well, sure. It doesn't take long for them to go to their usual happy place of we must ban guns, or we must have universal background checks, or we must have, fill in the blank, a ban on magazines, none of which would have affected this. It's like they don't really even care what the event is or what the attack was. They just trot out their usual agenda of gun ban efforts and say, oh, goody, we'll get to pull this one out again. It's callous, They're dancing in the blood of innocent children. It is despicable. The reality is we have the ability to stop this. The other thing is there's a thing called the stopwatch of death, and all the police officers know exactly what I'm talking about here. It's a concept that was developed by a police officer, and the longer it goes on, the more people die. Simple as that. You know, you look at Uvalde. They sat there for more than an hour, the police did, before they went in, and more people died. In this case, the police officer, went in quickly and stopped the shooting quickly. Imagine how much quicker it could be if a trained teacher or staff member who volunteers, not forced, volunteers, takes the training, had a gun in there, and could stop it even more quickly. More lives would be saved.
And, Tom, we are seeing that in private schools and religious schools and other places and churches across the country.
Well, that's true, but also in public schools, and there are a number of states now. Utah has never had a school shooting because the teachers there can carry, and they've been able to do that for decades. You have Colorado and Ohio have a program called FASTER, where they train teachers and staff members. I mean, it's serious firearms training. You got to volunteer. Nobody's being forced. I always love it. They say, well, you're going to make teachers carry guns. No one has ever, to my knowledge, proposed of making our teachers carry guns. It's always been on a voluntary basis. And when they get the training, they're very good at this, and they overcome all of these objections from people who know nothing about it.
Tom Grisham joining us, host of Gun Talk here on KIDO Talk Radio. So, obviously, you're getting ready for the show. You're talking to people. You have Gun Talk Media as well. You guys are always on this. What are you hearing from the public?
The public splits on this. You've got the hand-wringers who say, oh, my goodness, what can we do to prevent it? And, I mean, that's worthwhile, I guess, on the larger scale. I tend to work on a macro scale of what can I do to stop it? Not prevent it, but stop it. And if it starts to happen, can I do something? Am I trained up? Do I have what I need? Have I taken the classes? And so we actually offer a video television show, a digital show called First Person Offender, where we drop people into these kinds of situations and see what they do. Anybody that wants to take a look at that, it's on YouTube. It's called First Person Offender. You'll be amazed at what you can learn.
Well, again, the education is the key. Tom, how difficult is it to operate in the world that we live in as someone who is a champion of the Second Amendment, guaranteed by the Constitution these days?
Well, it's not really all that difficult once you decide that's the kind of person you want to be. And, Kevin, I think that's what people have to figure out, is look in the mirror and say, who do I want to be? Who am I going to be with this? Am I going to be that person who cowers in the corner and asks for mercy from someone who has no mercy? Or am I going to be the warrior, the man or the woman who says, not on my watch, you're not going to kill kids when I'm around. You're not going to kill people. You're not going to murder me. You're not going to rape me, and you're not going to kidnap me. I will take the steps it takes to learn to use the tool. Buying a gun is not nearly enough, not even close to enough. You've got to learn it. You've got to take classes. You've got to get trained in it. But then you decide, this is who I am going to be, and then that changes everything around you.
Tom Grisham joining us, Kevin Miller, KIDL Talk Radio. But, I mean, as far as the videos, we were talking to some folks that have a gun operation, a gun store, and they said, Kevin, they treat the gun people on the social media like they do the pornographers and everything else. They really shadow ban the message. And obviously people like you and others are attacked on this. And, I mean, how do you operate in that very congested area, sir?
That's an interesting point. Facebook and YouTube are shutting down videos and information about guns, lawful use of guns, serious use of guns. They are shadow banning, certainly, which is harder to document. But now they're just openly canceling entire YouTube channels. People who have 2 or 5 million followers, subscribers to their channel, they wake up one morning and it's just gone because Facebook or YouTube says, yeah, no, we're not allowing that anymore. And there's really no recourse. It's one of the reasons I'm hoping that Elon Musk will bring out competition to some of those because at least he believes in free speech.
Yeah, it is amazing when you think about this. So how do people like you operate in this world?
Well, we do what we can with the platforms, the Facebook and the YouTube. We also have our own channel and our own website. We make sure that we have a separate, we have guntalk.tv for our videos, and we put them everywhere else. But just in case they all get shut down, we have our own delivery mechanism. And, of course, as you know, with radio, this is the end run around the general media where they don't want our message out. It's what you do every day. It's what I do weekly is we deliver a message that they try to shut down, but they can't shut us down yet.
Well, and yeah, I feel that, Tom, every day. And that's why we proudly support Gun Talk and you. So back to what do you think is going to happen in Georgia right now? What will be the fallout of this, sir?
It will be a lot of the same, a lot of hand-wringing for a while. We have, of course, on the personal level, it is a tragedy for everyone involved, for the families there. It's horrific. But the blame goes to only one person. The blame goes to the person who was pulling the trigger, and possibly to the parents. We'll find out more about that, what was actually going on there. But there's no other blame, whether it's gun makers or politicians or people who were not there. Here's a little factoid for you. People are going to leap on the fact that he used a semi-automatic rifle. More people in this country are killed with fist and feet, murdered with fist and feet than they are with AR-15 rifles.
And yet that's always public enemy number one.
Well, it's because it's easy to demonize it, and that was the plan. We will first go after these ugly-looking guns, demonize them, make people think they're somehow machine guns, and they're not. And once we get those banned, we can say, well, that didn't work. We have to go a little bit further. And then that didn't work. We'll go ban some more. And then that didn't work. Guess what? Before you know it, they're all gone.
You're right about that. Tom, let me hit you with this one. When we take a look at the parents, and obviously you covered that case in Michigan, and you referenced the parents. And again, like I said, I'm just a goof, and you and I and your beautiful wife, we had a lovely lunch at Smoky Mountain, so I'm a goof, and you and me and Greg Ferreira and your wife. But coming from a goof, what do you make of the parents? And here's my goofy statement to you. If the FBI visits you, it's time to go buy a gun safe, is it not? And we don't know everything.
Well, I would just say even more than that. You need to keep your guns secure. And I understand the generational thing of, we had guns around the house when I was growing up, yada, yada, yada. Got it, understand it, lived it. At the same time, if you look at the mirror and you say, I'm a good, responsible person, if you are a responsible person, your guns must be secure. And what does that mean? If you have it on your person, it's secure. If you're not home, it needs to be a place where nobody else can get it, and that includes your kids. And I am sorry if people think that's some kind of infringement. I call that just being responsible, along the same lines of not leaving your keys in your car. I don't see a whole lot of difference.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. And, my family, we had guns everywhere. And I can remember being older and, telling my parents when my brother's friends were over, go, hey, man, you got to put these up. But again, that was 20, 30 years ago.
Well, and that's a good point. It's that your kids may be great, but their friends may not be. In fact, they probably almost certainly are not. And, it's that old deal of, what could happen. We will guard against that. But there's another aspect of this is if you know you have a troubled kid, and this is what you alluded to. If you know for sure you have a very troubled kid, then you absolutely must secure your guns and put them away somewhere, somehow. They're going to do a lot of analysis on this, and we'll learn a lot more. But bottom line for me is like, okay, you got all these things that were going on there. For me, it's like, what can I personally do? And what I personally do is I keep training. I carry a gun every single day. Every day, when I put my pants on, I put a gun on. Why is that? It's not because I hoped I could use it. I hope I never have to use it. But I can't even imagine how it would feel to have something like this going on when I knew that I could have possibly done something about it. And that was the day I decided I would not take the tools, the safety gear that I carry with me every day.
Well, that's a great point. Tom Grisham joining us here on KIDO Talk Radio. Do you recommend that for women as well?
Well, yeah. Women actually face more threats than we do. Think about this. I mean, women understand inherently that they are more at risk. They generally are smaller, they are lighter, they are weaker, and they also are subject to sexual assault. I cannot imagine these days a woman not taking responsibility of her own body in terms of protecting herself.
Yeah. Tom Grisham joining us from Gun Talk. You can catch him this Sunday, noon to 3, then the rerun at 6 to 9 on KIDO Talk Radio. Why do you like taking live calls, Tom?
Love the live calls. Love the calls from the Boise area these days because you never know what's going to come in. You never know what the conversation is going to be. And sometimes the question that's being asked is not the real question that they want to address. And we dive down and we end up with some interesting things, some funny things, and sometimes find out, wow, you have an XYZ gun from way back when that your granddaddy had.
Yeah.
And I had a guy call in one time. He told me about his gun. When we finally figured out the value of it, his pistol was worth $115,000.
Wow, that's quite a find.
Yeah, it really was.
Tom, let's talk to, and this is one of the many cool things I love about your show. You talk to people like that are the gun manufacturers, whether they're big or small. How concerned are they about this upcoming election? And I know you've heard the term the Trump slump, but what's riding on this election?
Everything. Simple as that. It's like the gun makers, of course, they, like any other company, they're tracking sales and percentage points and all that, but they know inherently that this election will make all the difference. And Kamala Harris wants to ban guns. She's always said she wants to ban guns. Tim Walz wants to ban guns. He's always said he wants to ban guns. And they will use the administrative state to do that. But I will tell you, for me, that's not even the issue. The issue comes down to very simple, judges and justices. It'll be the judges they put on the federal benches and the justices they put in the Supreme Court, and that's a 20 to 30-year impact, and that makes all the difference. And I don't care how Trump talks. I don't care how he tweets. I don't care about, he said this. I don't care. I simply don't care. He gave us 3 good justices on the Supreme Court. He will give us more, and I can look past everything else to get that, because that is what's going to be the offset to whatever Congress tries to do.
You've said that on your show several times. I love you for it. I go, man, I'm like listening to Gun Talk during the week. And that's such an important point that a lot of folks don't understand. I would agree with you. I think the most important issue when you have a president is who they appoint to the Supreme Court.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, that's, the question is going to be, are we going to live by laws? Are we going to let the administrative state take over? Like when ATF decides that a rubber band basically is a gun, or a piece of plastic that you put on your gun is a machine gun, which they did. After years and years and years of saying perfectly legal, it's all fine, then they said, oh, we changed our mind, and now if you own one, you're a felon, you can go to federal prison for 10 years. We put a stop to that with the Supreme Court using the justices that Trump put on. And they said, no, you're an agency. You're not Congress. You don't pass laws. And that's what we need out of our Supreme Court, is to be the offset for when Congress or the agencies, the administrative state, goes crazy.
Speaking of crazy, are you ever worried about the government coming to get you?
Me personally?
Yeah, I mean, you're out there. I mean, and again, you act very responsibly. You're a nice young man. And again, you have the best job ever. Before you were a broadcaster, you were a writer. So obviously you know how to think, sir. But I mean, you ever think of, hey man, Tom's getting too big. Tom got to go.
Yeah, no, it goes across my brain fleetingly occasionally. The reality is there's nothing you can do about it. So I am very much of the mindset of don't worry about things you can't control. If the government decides it wants to come get you, it will come get you. There's nothing in the world you're going to do about that. So all you can do is try to put the information out, try to find the truth, try to help people be safe, teach them everything about guns and about safety and about fire extinguishers and about locks and lights and everything else, and try to live a safe life.
Tom Grisham joining us. One more fanboy question for you. You go back to your days with your dad and on ESPN and all the magazines, Guns and Ammo, all these things. An amazing run promoting hunting, fishing, and the Second Amendment, and to the early days of hunting and sporting fishing television, if you will.
Oh, yeah. I mean, way back to American Sportsman TV on ABC TV. I was helping with that way back. I mean, we're talking 60 years ago, and I've been writing professionally for 50 years. I actually been doing Gun Talk Radio coming up on 30 years in March. Unbelievable. And so, who knows how much longer. I think I probably got another 30 years in me, though, Kevin.
I would say you have the energy, sir. You do. You do. Much more than old lumps here in Boise. Tom, anything else you would like to share with us today, sir? We appreciate you joining us on such short notice.
Absolutely. Well, tune in to Gun Talk this Sunday, but also as you're looking at these stories, remember, you got one group of people who wants to take your guns away. They use every opportunity they can to push that agenda, and to keep asking yourself, are the things that they are proposing, would they have done anything to change the school shooting? And the answer is always no. It was a gun-free zone, and it was an armed person, a good guy with a gun, who stopped it.
Tom Gresham, we will be tuned in Sunday, noon to 3. We're going to try and get away from all those Louisiana callers and get some more Idaho folks in. We're going to rally the troops.
That'd be great. I'd love to have people call in. We'll just chat it up.
Thank you, Tom. You have a great day.
You too.
Our great friend Tom Gresham, Gun Talk Media, and of course Sundays, noon to 3, and then 6 to 9 on the replay. Let's get you to work safely and on time. We'll get your reaction next. Kevin Miller.
Good morning, Kevin. KIDO Talk Radio traffic from the Idaho Pizza Company studio. Very busy through the valley from Canyon County through the Meridian exit. Around the Karcher interchange, it looks pretty stop and go for eastbound traffic, and a crash at the Meridian interchange just after the on-ramp is on the right shoulder, and it's very heavy until you get by that. On northbound Highway 55 before Hill Road, an injury crash with lane blockage. Direct Orthopedic Care for sprains, strains, and breaks. Skip the ER and go direct to Doc. Drop in without an appointment to one of 5 Treasure Valley locations. Visit BoiseDoc.com to learn more. I'm Robin Scott. Traffic now on KIDO Talk Radio.
580 KIDO. Obviously, we'll continue on talking about this situation in Georgia, not the situation, the tragedy of 4 lives lost because somebody had access to weapons, somebody murdered people. Remember what you were doing at 14. Maybe you have kids that are 14. Are you kidding me? Another issue I want to bring up that the mainstream media will bring up wholeheartedly is an issue involving a Russian disinformation network. And this goes out to all of our friends that, they love the platforms. And obviously, there are platforms that we're associated with, whether it's the Daily Caller, the Daily Wire, Red State, the Gem State Patriot, all sorts of things. But whether you're licensed by the Federal Communications Commission, as this station is, or you're one of those people that, have had a marvelous run and have created a platform, whether it's Outkick or, again, the Daily Caller or something else, there is a certain sense of responsibility. And just because somebody has a microphone and a huge audience doesn't necessarily mean that they should be trusted. And years ago, God rest his soul if Liberal Steve is listening, Ed Schultz was booted from MSNBC, and then he went on this RT network. Well, I don't know if you've heard about this. And again, maybe you don't trust the Justice Department. Maybe you don't trust anything else. But there was a Russian state media organization called RT Television that employed a lot of people that were conservatives, a lot of people that were pro-Donald Trump, a lot of people that did a lot of things. And here you have people that hired American influencers and paid them a lot of money. Now, the Justice Department has said that these American influencers, you might know them, whether it's Benny Johnson or David Rubin or Tim Pool, were essentially useful idiots of the Russian government because they peddled the propaganda. Now, many people may know who Tim Pool is. He has a very popular show on YouTube. It makes you wonder when he says something like this.
They know it. But I don't know that it matters anymore. This is psychotic. Ukraine is the enemy of this country. Ukraine is our enemy, being funded by the Democrats. I will stress this again. One of the greatest enemies of our nation right now is Ukraine. They are expanding this war. Now, don't get me wrong, I know. You've got criminal elements of the U.S. government pushing them and guiding them and telling them what to do. Ukraine is now accused, a German warrant issued for blowing up the Nord Stream pipeline, in triggering this conflict. Ukraine is the greatest threat to this nation and to the world. We should rescind all funding and financing, pull out all military support, and we should apologize to Russia.
There we have it. Tim Pool, again, a very successful podcaster. And you have to wonder, did he really not know that RT was an arm of the government of Russia? I knew that. That's why we never did anything with them. We had a chance to do something with them in D.C. We said, we'll piece out of that one. We will talk to our friend Subaru Jerry. Good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Subaru Jerry.
Oh.
Hello, Subaru Jerry. Go ahead, please.
Oh, good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, sir.
Well, we're talking about this school shooting. RFK Jr. was absolutely correct. This country is sick to the core right now. It's not guns that do these things. It's gender dysphoria. It's bad parenting. It's multi-social media. I could go on and on. We had guns when I was in high school. This sort of thing didn't happen. In fact, kids brought them to school because they were going hunting afterwards. What's responsible for this stuff are the people that are promoting all this cultural rot. And while we're at it, let's not forget the 14-year-old girl who was attending her brother's baseball game somewhere in the Midwest. It may have been Indiana, and an MS-13 gang member came out from behind the dugout, went into the bleachers, and stabbed her multiple times with his pocket knife. So, while we're talking about taking the guns away, maybe we ought to throw that into the mix, too. How many people have criminally illegal aliens raped, murdered, and robbed, thanks to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris?
And how many school shootings?
Yeah. Well,
I mean, Subaru Jerry, you and I, people would say that we're long in the tooth. Okay? So we're long in the tooth. We're this, that, and the other. But what goes on in your mind as a person who grew up when America was America?
Well, I sent my kids to school dressed properly with manners and their own lunch. I didn't send them dressed up like a cat with a cat box, so when they had to go to the bathroom, they used that.
Yes. Nobody was sporting a tail in my day either.
Only at Halloween, maybe.
Yeah. No, look, yesterday I saw some goof dressed up as a kitty driving a motorcycle. I'm going, what the heck is this person?
Well, some thoughts come to mind, but I can't share them on the air.
I will tell you, those furries, I am not down with the furries. And I know we can't say corporal punishment anymore, but you want to cure the I can't even say it now, the furry problem, introduce them to the corporal punishment. Come here, kitty, kitty, kitty.
Yeah, or take them to the zoo and put them in the cage with a real kitty.
Yeah.
Hey, Kevin, why don't you see if you can get your hands on that manifesto of that Oklahoma shooter? Apparently it's been published by Star.com or something like that.
Oh, you mean
on the news.
Right, the Nashville shooter, the Tennessee Star did it, yes.
Yeah, okay. I think it'd be a good thing to get that out there.
Well, it would seem like it at the time, yes. We talked a little bit about it yesterday, but that would be something.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin. I got to go to work.
All right. Don't tell anybody you're calling on the job.
No, I'm just getting ready to check in.
Okay. Bye. Cindy in Eagle with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Oh, good morning, Kevin. First, let me quickly apologize. I talked too long the other day and went right to your break. So I'm sorry.
No worries.
Okay. I had a comment. I agreed with everything that your previous guest said about guns and gun control and our problems. I'm in a situation where I'm a widow. I know I can't handle a gun. My husband had guns, but I had to get rid of all of them simply because I'm not physically strong enough to pull the trigger and to keep it locked up, and then if I would panic. So I don't know why more people are not talking about getting the Byrna. It's not even called a gun. It's called a Byrna launcher. I think one of the reasons is it's advertised on all the conservative stations. But I bought one. It's light. It's like a little squirt gun. I keep it loaded, and you don't need a permit. You can take it anywhere. You don't require a permit in 50 states.
Oh, is that the gun that Sean Hannity talks about?
Yes. And you can do it. You can do the whole thing through the mail. It's like ordering a pair of jeans. And I tested it out with my nephew, who is really gun savvy. It's very easy to shoot. And I don't understand why they don't recommend this for the teachers, because even if a child got a hold of this gun, he couldn't kill anybody. That's the beauty of it. And I wouldn't want to kill anybody, but if somebody's threatening me, I want to stop them. And you can stop them dead in their tracks, and it shoots 60 feet. You don't have to be a good shot. You have 6 chances to shoot the thing. And I feel quite safe with it now. And I just think it should get more publicity for those people, especially women, especially small women, who can't really handle a gun. And I looked into all of this, and I said, well, you can go to the shooting range, people will teach you how to shoot. That wouldn't work for me. It's I'm just too feeble, too scatterbrained. This, you grab it, you shoot it. And I'm safe in the knowledge that I can't really kill anybody, but I could sure stop some creep if he was coming to harm me. Anyway, I just wanted to share that.
Well, thank you, Cindy, and maybe someone will go out and get one of those. What do they call those things? The Viper, the this, the that?
It's the Byrna, B-Y-R-N-A.
The Byrna.
Byrna.com, not Burner. That's what Sean Hannity calls them. But it's the Byrna.com, and they'll tell you everything you need to know.
Thank you very much, Cindy. Take care.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
Bye-bye. Earlier with his reaction, and we'll take your reaction more to this tragic school shooting in Georgia. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And for years, we had folks on talking about the Western lands and what the Western lands need to do and how we need to stop what's going on and this craziness. But has this been the worst year ever in modern history? Now we have, the new Plexi fire burning near Micron off Highway 21. So now we have more smoke into the Treasure Valley. And a lot of people say, well, Kevin Miller, welcome to our world in Coeur d'Alene, in McCall, where it's just so bad. And then I think to myself, whatever happened to that song by Twisted Sister? We're not going to take it. But, all we seem to do is take it. All we seem to do is to take it again and again and again. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And you think to yourself, the world that we live in, the world where anyone you don't even have to go to any type of official training if you have access to a computer or to a library. In the old days, you used to have a library card. Now it's a laptop. And you can go somewhere and get a glass of water at Starbucks or, the old Big City Coffee. God rest them. We love them. And you can educate yourself. And yet here we have the idea that this presidential race is a toss-up. Let me just share with you, thankfully, Idaho is not California. Idaho is not Washington. Idaho is not Oregon. It's not Eugene. Although the mayor of Boise, she'd like it to be Eugene. How can you vote for this person?
I'm going to get into some business now. Okay.
And now it's back.
You all helped helped us win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024.
We're going to beat him in November.
Well, what are you going to do about it?
We all know you don't talk like that. You've been vice president for 4 years.
He does not walk it like he talks it.
She doesn't talk like this.
When we get this done together, my friend.
I know how to talk to you. I mean, come on.
Well, I see people testifying. Can I get a witness?
And they know. Yeah. We all know she's just a big walking bag of artifice.
You think you just fell out of a coconut?
A walking bag of artifice. That, of course, Megyn Kelly on KIDO Talk Radio.
Tree? Best rapper alive. Tupac. Are you kidding me? I'm totally part of that whole listening generation of music.
She seems to come forth with some sort of an accent while she's talking to French scientists.
We campaign with the plan. Uppercase T, uppercase P, the plan. We're expected to defend the plan.
What was that?
That was weird.
Oh, the possibilities are immense. Whatever you want to do, you can do. I eat no for breakfast. Young men of color, black men, it's not just a barbershop.
You know Kamala Harris is Indian, right?
We got these brothers out there. This one brother who's doing a lot of work on space.
You are Indian.
Yes. My chitti is here. I was just talking with my chitti about this. Go to India for Diwali. We have to stay woke. Let's get a ceasefire. There must be an immediate ceasefire. Like, everybody needs to be woke.
More on the joke that is the woke that is the vice president. Good morning, Jim and Eagle. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Thank you for the call.
Yeah, good morning, Kevin. A couple of things. Maybe there's an online presidency training course that Kamala has taken. Same one for the Secret Service has taken. They were talking about Trump may have taken $1 million or whatever the number was here from the Egypt, or he didn't take it, but it was given. And they have bank records and this and that. And was it last week, I believe, a Republican congressional investigation has the bank records that Biden has taken like $27 million from foreign governments over the last 10 years while he was in office. And that story got killed pretty quick. So, it's just amazing that, back to Kamala for a minute, nobody cares that she doesn't know anything or can't do her job because everybody knows that she's just the president. The Democrats are running by committee, and Joe Biden is a good example of that somebody is telling him what to do and what to say and when, and they will tell Kamala if she gets elected too. So she doesn't have to know much.
Well, you're correct about that, but I mean, you just hear the clips and you're like, what the heck, man?
Yeah, we're being played. The union workers of America, boy, you guys are just being played. You are just being played. And so are the rest of the Democrats. That's all I got to say about that, Kevin. I got to get back in traffic here.
Good luck, Jim. We're rooting for you.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Quickly to Robin on KIDO Talk Radio with traffic.
Good morning, Kevin. KIDO Talk Radio traffic from the Idaho Pizza Company studio. They have just cleared both the crashes on eastbound I-84, the one near Garrity and the one at Meridian on-ramp. All lanes open. Traffic is starting to move a little bit better, but it's been very heavy from Nampa, starting at Karcher Interchange and all the way through the Meridian area. So those slowdowns are kind of moving eastward. It's busy through the Eagle exit at least. Northbound Highway 55 before Hill Road, a crash with blockage. Mike Miniger's Auto Body, locally owned and operated.
Jared, how are you?
I am well. How are you?
Not bad. Obviously, you've got the big story going on. It's the debate. It's the prep for the debate. And this is what you live for.
Yeah, listen, I think the debate's going to be a seminal moment, right? I mean, first time that we see the two candidates on stage together, maybe the only time we see them on stage together. And you certainly are seeing the significance that the Harris campaign's taking with it, putting her down for a few days to do some debate prep there in Western Pennsylvania. It shows that they're taking this seriously, that they view this as a significant event.
Yeah, it's interesting they chose Western PA in Pittsburgh. Your thoughts on that?
Well, it allows her to do some events out there during those 4 days, right? So she's close, but she can go out, maybe do some whether they're retail visits or kind of smaller scale events there in the community. That's going to be a critical area for that battleground state. So it makes sense. And also the debates in Philadelphia. So, kind of keeping it in Pennsylvania, I think just helps from maybe trying to maximize the time to prepare her for the debate, but also, do a little bit of campaigning in a pretty important state.
Yeah, no, indeed. And then, of course, we have the former president hanging out with Fox News' Sean Hannity.
Yeah, listen, I think Trump, we've seen, has taken debate prep a little bit differently than other candidates. Notably, he is working, it sounds like, with Tulsi Gabbard, the former congresswoman, a former Democrat, who has shared a debate stage with Kamala Harris, which is something that Trump has not done. So, again, I think that he looks at this probably a little bit differently. Certainly that debate in June was very successful for him. He probably has a lot of confidence coming into this debate, and he kind of expressed that confidence and said that he kind of prepares for this the same way he prepared for that last one. So we'll see kind of what that looks like and what that feels like. Obviously, the format's going to be very similar, but it's going to be a different debate with a different candidate. You kind of always have to prepare for that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. We've never seen anybody like Donald Trump for the vice president. Obviously, she's been involved in big events, but this is the biggest. And President Trump, it's just another stop on the tour.
Again, I think we know how important these debates can be.
Sure.
And so you don't want to have a misstep.
Yeah, indeed. And, of course, the former president going after ABC, giving his critiques. And I guess people will be watching how this is moderated, if you will. Of course, that happens in every debate, sir.
Listen, I think the moderators we'll see. ABC has a couple of big name anchors doing it in Lindsay Davis and David Muir. And, let's see. I mean, I don't want to prejudge the moderators. I know Trump sometimes does that. I think that's part of kind of setting expectations and kind of showing that it's stacked against them. And that's fine, but let's see how it goes, right? ABC is not sharing the topics, is not sharing the questions in advance, and so we don't even really know kind of if this is going to be focused more on domestic economy issues, maybe some foreign policy with Gaza, Israel, Ukraine. We'll see. But, again, I think it's going to be a format that we kind of got used to there in June.
Jared, not to go too vintage Chicago Bulls or the Kobe Shaq Lakers on you, but it almost sounds like maybe both sides, but especially the former president, likes to work the officials before the game.
It's a little bit of that, yeah, I think, again, and then a lot of it is kind of managing expectation.
Yeah. And, Jared, what are we going to see after this debate?
It's the home stretch. I mean, you're going to see, I think, the candidates kind of spend as much time as possible in the 7 states here that seem to matter the most. And I think it's going to be a pretty aggressive schedule. I traveled with Harris yesterday in New Hampshire, and it seems like they are going to be kind of nonstop there in the final few weeks. I imagine the same for Donald Trump as well. So, if you live in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, Nevada, get ready to have some big-time candidates come through your neck of the woods here in the next 6 weeks.
What was that like traveling and seeing her in New Hampshire, if you will?
Well, it was a big event, right? They had 3,000 people. It was at this kind of outdoor brewery. It was a good event, I think, for the Harris campaign. It gave her an opportunity to talk about some of the economic issues, find some distance, at least on tax policy, with President Biden, which is something that they've been kind of picking and choosing their moments for. And again, kind of see her respond. She responded to the school shooting, so kind of the flexibility, the nimbleness that candidates sometimes need to possess.
Jared, anything else you'd like to share with us today? I know you're very busy.
No, let's enjoy the weekend and get ready for the debate on Tuesday. It's going to be big.
All right, Jared. Thank you very much, sir.
Take care.
Jared Halpern joining us from Fox News Radio. You can always tell when Jared's got stuff to do. And, dude, he's a busy dude, man. Like my man, Paulie. What up, Paulie, on KIDO Talk Radio?
Morning, guys. Hey, this shooter deal, I don't know what the situation was in the home life, whether it was a single mother or a single father or a mother and father there, or whatever the situation was. But it seems like they can lock these ARs or whatever they are, or even handguns. They can lock them in a safe with the triggers, with a trigger lock, and only will have one key, and that's whoever leaves the house last has the key with them when they leave, and there's no second key laying around for them to get to. It just, it's not that I'm anti-gun. It's like, lock your stuff up so your kid can't get it and take it to school for show and tell. That's not right. It shouldn't be happening in a lot of cases. The other thing that I was concerned about was Trump having enough time on the trail after this debate and making sure that he gets in there where he belongs.
Well, we forgot. We've still got, the New York people are coming after him. Jack Smith's coming after him. It's not like this is fair.
No, but they made up for the inequities that they have with the AG. He decided to file a motion against the Hamas. Like, that's really going to make a big difference when they can run around the sand dunes for the next 30 years and never get caught. And so it's not like they're doing anything by doing what they did yesterday or the day before it was. And it's bothersome because it's obvious. It's obvious to everybody, including the libs, that they're picking on conservatives and Republicans. Only. So where do you draw the line if you're gonna be pointing the finger at this person needs to be adjudicated, that person needs, and then okay.
Yes. Did you lose a thought there, Paulie?
It's not necessarily being fair about the thing. It's just a question of being unfair and not giving anybody a second chance. And so the blame lays on one person's back, and that'd be the conservative. Thank you. That's all I got.
All right, Paulie, thank you for the call. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller on Idaho's talk station, KIDO Talk Radio. Golf coming up this weekend to help out a local nonprofit. We'll give you the details there. I believe we are having the crime-fighting Attorney General join us next hour, also our friends from the Daily Caller. But between now and then, you can be like Subaru Jerry, you can be like Paulie, and give us a call at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We sure appreciate that. Obviously, this shooting is what we've been talking about. Apparently, the school shooter, as Tom Grisham joined us earlier. You go, Kevin, I can only listen for 20, 30 minutes at a time. Well, whether it's on YouTube, I guess it's under the KIDO Talk Radio YouTube, or anywhere you get a podcast, you can get this show, and it's very exciting. You can hear Tom Grisham talk about this. But let me give you some details. The Georgia school shooting suspect was on the FBI radar for about a year because he made online remarks. In a statement, the FBI confirmed the Appalachia High School shooter was flagged back in 2023. The FBI has also confirmed that the alleged shooter who killed 2 students and 2 teachers and wounded 9 others at a Georgia high school Wednesday has been on its radar as a possible threat since last year. In a joint statement, the FBI Atlanta field office and the Jackson County Sheriff's Office said the agency's National Threat Operations Center received an anonymous tip about threats posted online regarding a possible school shooting last May. The agency said the threats were contained images of guns. Within 24 hours of receiving the anonymous tip, the investigators determined the threats originated in Georgia, and the matter was referred to the local sheriff's office in Jackson County. They located the possible suspect at the time, a 13-year-old male, interviewed him and his father. The FBI said the father stated that he had hunting guns in the house, but the subject did not have unsupervised access to them. The agency said the boy denied making the threats, and authorities alerted local schools to monitor the child. Well, how are you going to monitor this guy? Are you going to do stop and frisk? Are you going to have metal detectors? At the time, there was no probable cause for an arrest or to take additional law enforcement action on the local, state, or federal levels, the FBI said. On Wednesday, authorities identified the 14-year-old as the shooter who killed 2 students, 2 teachers at the school. He surrendered to authorities and was taken into custody following the rampage. Dare we say something that you're thinking? Dare we say the unthinkable? Dare we say this for the victims and the family members? Dare we say something that will evoke a big reaction? We tell the truth here, so we might as well say it. We live in a very compassionate society. We live in a marvelously compassionate society compared to really any other society in the world. But if you go into a school, no matter what your age, and you kill people, students, teachers, children, parents, why surrender? You take a look at the horrible person in Tennessee killing the Christian kids, and this person went out in a gunfight. Do you really need a trial? God teaches us to turn the other cheek. Jesus teaches us to be compassionate. But this kid could serve 50 years and be out in, at 64? A lifetime of incarceration? I believe Georgia has the death penalty, but how are you going to rehabilitate a 14-year-old killer? Are you going to punish the parents? Obviously, the world is filled with liability potholes. I'm always worried about liability for some strange reason. Probably watching too much People's Court in the old days. But if you have weapons and the FBI comes to your house, isn't it time to go to call the folks in Caldwell at Rhino and go, I want a gun safe? Or any of the great gun stores in our area. And what troubles me is people are going to use this to their advantage. They're going to vilify people with the Trump shirts. They're going to vilify people with the guns. They're going to vilify everything else. They're going to vilify the talk radio, Kevin Miller, because somebody, and look, we're one of the last places that we judge people. Not that we're tough guys, but everybody else is a sissy. What type of person allows their kid to have access to guns when the FBI knocks on your door? Is it somebody that says the sheriff's department, the FBI are wrong and we don't trust the police? Why in the world would you let your guns out? Kevin, you're trying to grab my gun, you pinko bleep bleep liberal. We're talking about dead kids, dead adults. And again, the left will try to take us. Now, we're going to try this kid as an adult. They should have just ended it there. And I'm sorry to say it, but that's what everybody's thinking.
Priority right now for us within this investigation is to gather all the facts, to make sure that we're accurate with it, because this is a murder investigation. As the sheriff mentioned earlier this morning, the shooter is in custody. His name is Colt, that's C-O-L-T, Gray. He is a 14-year-old student here at the school, G-R-A-Y. He is a 14-year-old student here at the high school. Again, he has been taken into custody. He will be charged with murder, and he will be tried as an adult.
You ever been to jail? Ever visit anybody in jail? Ever been sent to your room? Ever been in school suspension, detention, where they put you in a little room? Do they even do that anymore? Imagine the trauma of this 14-year-old kid, the murderer, the alleged murderer, and all of a sudden there's no more PlayStation. There's no more mom's chocolate chip cookies. You're in the big house with Bill and Tyrone and Jose and some guy that looks like his name is Sally. Not a good life. Can we prevent these things? What would you do if you saw a child coming at you with a gun and you had your weapon? Would you kill them? Would you blow them away? We can blame the parents. We can blame society. But the bottom line here is this kid had to go. And it hurts me to say this. But society has to protect itself. Now, again, at 580-5436-580-KIDO, you're going to have the libs going, yes, we need to protect ourselves. We need to have gun-free zones. The problem is the criminals, the predators, don't respect gun-free zones. And you have people, I'm not going to say where, that they make sure that their kids are safe. Because going on a field trip or going to class should never cost anyone, and I do mean anyone, their life. A busy day getting into work on KIDO Talk Radio or wherever you're going. We keep you up to date. KIDO Talk Radio traffic. Good morning, Robin.
Good morning, Kevin. KIDO Talk Radio traffic from the Idaho Pizza Company studio. The earlier crashes on eastbound I-84 are clear, but it is still heavy from Karcher Interchange in Nampa all the way through the Eagle exit in Meridian. So expect busy traffic. It's starting to move a little better, but still a lot of stop and go stuff. Into downtown Boise, seeing more crowding as well from before Chinden to 13th. Highway 21 closed from Technology to Warm Springs due to grass fire. What if your bank account paid you? Get paid to bank when you open a new checking account at Horizon Credit Union. Put some extra cash in your pocket. Visit hdcu.org/getpaid to find out how. I'm Robin Scott. That's your KIDO Talk Radio traffic.
The election will take place. If she won, you're not going to have any fracking in Pennsylvania. You have 500,000 jobs. Think of that. It's your biggest business. And you get a big majority of your income from fracking. And you have somebody that's not going to allow fracking. She's not going to allow it. You can't take the chance. You have no choice. You've got to vote for me. You've got to vote for me. Even if you don't like me. You know?
There you have it. Donald Trump last night, President Trump with our own Sean Hannity. I'm sure Sean will be sharing his firsthand insights with that coming up later on today. Part 2 on Fox News tonight, where you're going to actually have the questions from the audience. And as we heard from Jared Halpern earlier this morning with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio, Harris hanging out in my old hometown of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And it's interesting, the debate is going to be in Philly. Now, Philadelphia, you have a bunch of East Coast elite liberal snobs. In Pennsylvania, Western Pennsylvania, as they like to call it, you have the working people. You have Butler County. You have, obviously, Pittsburgh that has continued to be run by the incompetent Democrats longer than the old Soviet Union. I know that. We fought. They won. They booted me. They ran me. However, it's a very different vibe. And apparently, I guess she's going to go pretend to be one of them. And as Donald Trump just said, you can't get rid of fracking and be a part of the new Green Deal or the Green New Deal. You just can't. And basically, are we all going to be dummies and really fall for this? That's really where we're at.
You're a big dummy there. I'm not kidding you. You're a big dummy.
I could see where we saw this act the first time.
Thanks, Obama.
Where we had the radical dressed as a moderate.
Thanks, Obama.
Barack Obama. And Barack Obama fooled everybody. Barack Obama fooled everybody. And he does seem like a moderate compared to what we have today. But the idea that we're going to elect someone because she makes us feel good? And they're laughing at us, literally. Donald Trump isn't laughing.
So I gave you the biggest tax cuts in the history of our country. If you let the Trump tax cuts expire, which he wants to do, she wants to terminate them. If you do that, you will suffer the biggest tax increase in history. There's never been a tax increase like it. On top of which, she wants to add a lot of tax. This country will end up, and I've said this a lot, and I mean it, this country will end up in a depression if she becomes president, like 1929. This will be a 1929 depression. She has no idea what the hell she's doing.
Let's get some reaction next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Don't forget our friends at Beacon Plumbing. They say stop freaking, call Beacon. Beacon Plumbing, beaconplumbing.net. Please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. Joining us, Chrissy, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. You come well recommended by our great friend, Mr. Walling, and we're always wanting to help the community out. And you love the dogs. We love the dogs. You've got a big event going on to help the dogs and to help your cause. Tell us a little bit about it, please.
Yeah, so this Friday at Topgolf was awesome enough to let us use their facility to help promote, and they're really big into dog adoption as well. So we are getting 4 rescues, all with adoptable dogs, out to Topgolf. There's going to be over 65 vendors, all local, live music, as well as just a bunch of silent auction and raffle items. So dogs are ready to go home and be adopted and find their new homes. So that's kind of what we're promoting, is just getting these dogs out of the rescues and fosters and finding their forever homes.
Well, golf and dogs, how does that work?
You can't beat it, right? So at Topgolf, you just have to reserve a bay. I hear they're pretty booked up so far, but I think there's some bays left. So you reserve a bay. If you have to wait, come on over and check all the vendors out. Food and drinks, so you could order your food to go and sit out by the music and listen to music and go and pet dogs. But yeah, if you want to play at Topgolf while you're coming to check out the event, you just have to reserve a bay.
Oh, no, I don't care about that. I care about your cause and the dogs. It's great that they're doing it, but how does it work?
Yeah, so if you want to adopt a dog, I've been posting on the Facebook page and Boise Canine Fitness and Rehab, the Facebook page for that as well, some videos of the dogs that are adoptable. So if you are very interested in adopting one of those dogs, you can fill out an application in advance. That way the rescue can kind of screen you and do their process with helping get the dogs ready to go to their new homes, making sure it's safe. And then if you pass the screening, that's where you can take the dogs home for foster to adopt. They have to get spayed or neutered and vaccinated before they are officially adopted.
Well, can you share with us your charity and what you do and why it's so important?
So I actually do not have my own charity. My business is the Boise Canine Fitness and Rehab. I have an indoor dog pool for swimming, fitness, and then I do physical therapy for dogs. But it's so important for me that I do community outreach and I help in whatever way I can. So I just wanted to put this together to get the rescues some more funds and to help get awareness that all of these rescues in the valley are full. We're pulling from other states, kill shelters, and that sort of thing. So all these rescues don't have the capacity or the fosters left to take on more dogs that are needed. So the more we can get adopted, the more dogs that can be saved.
Yeah, it is amazing. We have such big hearts when it comes to our four-legged furry family members that are such an integral part of our lives. And, you know, sometimes people can't afford their beloved pets anymore, which is heartbreaking. And then you have these shelters that do such great work.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, all the behind the scenes that goes into it. I had no idea how emotional and just physically exhausting it all is. And the people that work for these rescues and shelters are just amazing people.
So you go to Topgolf at what time?
We are there from 2 to 8. So we're there for a big stretch of time. So anytime in that, we will be out there. The live music starts at 4. So we'll be doing the silent auction all the way till about 7:30. There's some pretty great donations. Maple Grove Dentistry is actually donating an entire Invisalign package worth over $6,000 for this cause. So that will be a silent auction item. And there's some other pretty awesome donations as well for this event. So some pretty big prizes out there.
Well, and again, these events, as you found out, they don't happen by themselves. You got to chase people down, and everybody wants to help. So whether you want to listen to the band, you want to bid on the silent auctions, maybe adopt a dog, or donate or get some food for the good cause, this all goes to help out the shelters?
Correct. So any of, and actually all of the profits from the event side will be donated to those 4 rescues. So any single silent auction item, raffle tickets, any of that will go straight to those rescues.
Now, and again, can you share with us the rescues?
Yes, so they are Paws Rescue, Inc., Snarf, Friends Forever, and Lake Lowell Animal Rescue.
Yeah, boy, those guys really are at the grassroots level, aren't they?
They really are. They've been working hard this whole year and beyond that. So I think there's about 15 dogs coming throughout the time. They'll be rotated just because of the heat and now the smoke. And then I think there's about 6 puppies also joining us at the event as well.
Well, and it's so important that they get a good home.
Yes. Yeah, and that's the biggest thing, is just finding a safe and loving home where these dogs can feel loved again or loved for the first time.
So it's at 2 o'clock, 2 to 8 tomorrow at Topgolf in Meridian, right off the highway there. Why not stop by? And if you're like Kevin Miller, you like to eat. So if I can eat for the cause as well?
I had to double check with Topgolf of what they're doing, but you could definitely bring some food over to listen to the music, and I do know that they have a pretty big prize for any donation as well.
All right, so you can stop by and donate to these animal shelters.
Yes.
All right. Anything else you'd like to share with us? Sorry to get you on such short notice. I know you're busy doing your own thing, and we appreciate you dedicating your time and volunteering to help out these great causes.
No, I just appreciate so much getting the word out. My goal is just to get as many dogs homes as they can. And granted, I don't, have any or rescue any of these pups, but getting the word out that, some of these local rescues, some people haven't even heard of. So I just want to get that word out and get them funds, especially for a very hard year. So
it is for all of us. Could you name the rescues again, and maybe your Facebook or wherever where they can get all of the information?
Absolutely. So on Facebook, the event is called Putts and Paws. There is a Facebook event page for that, which has all the information and all the rescues tagged. And then the rescues that will be joining us are Paws Inc., Snarf, Lake Lowell Animal Rescue, and Friends Forever.
Well, Chrissy, we appreciate you, and please consider us a resource at any time. Thank you.
I will do that. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Thank you. Great friend Chrissy there. Really, we take a look at life, and, man, the ability to have animals that are always there for us. And these folks that, as I've said before, in the animal shelter community that, they live and die with this each and every day to take care of these animals. Thank you for that. And hopefully you can stop by Topgolf, silent auction, maybe play some golf if you're into golfing. If you're not into golfing, make a donation. Boy, that Invisalign would be great for the Miller household. It is not fun at my age or at my physical condition to be chasing a white Labradoodle or an aging dachshund that still has his ups, if you will, his sprints. Phone number's here, 580-5436-580-KIDO. Out to our friend Ron Grant in Eagle.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
And good morning, Ron.
Good morning, young man. How are we doing today?
Well, we're living the dream, getting ready to roll. So how can we keep our money safe?
Well, that's the $1 million question, but it's really not hard to answer, Kevin. I was on talk radio for over 14 and a half years educating people on just how to do that. I provide for my clients a lifetime of security thanks to a lifetime of income. The top 1% of our nation gets income from multiple sources. Why wouldn't you? Out of the Wall Street casino, because the casino is up and down, fees, risk, that type of thing. We want to sleep at night, Kevin, want to know that our money is safe and protected so we can take care of ourselves and our family in retirement. And that's what I've done for my money, and that's what I do for my clients' money.
Well, Ron, what's the process of, we hear your friendly voice, and as you've said, for over 14 years on talk radio, but, a lot of us are like Kevin Miller. They're a little intimidated. What's the process to get some one-on-one time with you, sir?
Well, we talk on the phone. I ask a lot of questions. I listen a lot to find out if the product and myself is right for my clients. And then we get together at the office and we go through it and we move the money over. It's if it's in a 401k or an IRA, we have 60 days to do a rollover without any tax ramifications. If it's just regular money, you write a check out of the bank and we make it safe. And it's really not hard. It really isn't.
Well, Ron, like we said, let's talk about one more time the number, the website, and how easy it is to get a hold of you. I mean, it's not that tough.
No, it's not that tough. You can give me a call right here in the Treasure Valley. It's 208-660-1372. I've got a great educational website that you can go on 24/7, and then you can email me from the site if you like at safermoneyspecialist.com.
Hey, Ron, thank you very much. You have a blessed day.
Oh, you too, buddy. Take care.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
And phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's get back to some of the clips from our friend Donald Trump laying the smackdown on Kamala Harris and getting ready for this big debate. By the way, coming up, we're going to share with you just some unfiltered clips concerning why anybody in their right mind would vote for this person. And you go, well, Kevin Miller, you're a bad person. Really? No fracking. The cost of energy is going to go up. She's not a new candidate. She was with Joe Biden from the very beginning. She was with Joe Biden from the very beginning. And again, we have this huge debate coming up.
And she works for ABC, and she's at the round table talking about the debate. So we're going to watch very closely, but you're not allowed to do it. We even have a clause in the contract. You can't give them the questions, but I'm not sure it's going to help her that much, though. I think you might give her the questions and give her the answers with the questions. I'm not sure it's going to help her. I don't know. All right.
It's really too bad that our national security is at stake here. Our national security is at stake because Donald Trump is just so darn entertaining. Now we have people going back to the year 2016 when Hillary Clinton lost. The very cosmetically appealing Uma Abedin, the former Mrs. Wiener. Can you imagine if that was your name? I'm Uma Wiener. She was married to Anthony Weiner. Now, divorced, I still believe, and with a child from the Wiener. She and the Wiener got together and they had a Wiener baby. It's fun to say the name Wiener. Wiener, Wiener, Wiener. But again, I think she's probably in her early 40s, very beautiful woman. And she's about ready to get married to George Soros Jr. George Soros, I don't know if he's George, but George Soros' son, that's rumored to be buying every radio company known to man. And you got to admit, Bo, you got to stop writing for a minute. You got to admit, to go from a Wiener to little Soros, that's moving up in the right direction, Because how masculine can you be when you say your name is Wiener?
And you're also aware of the role that sexism and misogyny and racism has played in our political cycles. So I'm curious, do you think that America's evolved, watching what we witnessed in 2016 and the role particularly that sexism played then? Have we evolved to have women in leadership roles in this country?
Man, dude, we've got to revisit this at a higher level. Are you kidding me? Sexism, racism?
Thanks, Obama.
Really? Play into this race. Remember Valerie Jarrett? She and Susan Rice were like the id and the super ego to Obama's ego, along with Michelle. So, pardon me. Drink? Why not? Bo, has the smoke infiltrated our super intense air filters here? Yeah, it doesn't look good. Let's get you to traffic here on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Robin.
Evan, KIDO Talk Radio traffic from the Idaho Pizza Company studio. It is still pretty busy, Nampa to Meridian. We've got some heavy traffic around the exits, especially after Garrity through Eagle Interchange and into downtown Boise connector, a little bit heavy there before 13th. Also, Highway 21 is blocked from Technology to Warm Springs for a grass fire, Lake Hazel and Robinson, an injury crash. Dealing with backed up drains can be costly. Perfect Plumbing, Heating and Air will clear your drain for just $29. Call or schedule at callperfectnow.com. That's your KIDO Talk Radio traffic.
And we'll continue on keeping you updated on the fires that seem to be everywhere. Hang in there, folks. Hang in there. Keep the faith. So back to Uma Abedin, otherwise known as Mrs. Wiener. By the way, I do thank, it was either Patriot Ray or Ray Jr. sending me Wiener, Wiener, Wiener. It's the funniest thing he's heard all day. I mean, look, when you're, and I'm going to use this as well, when you're mad and having the road rage, just say, Wiener, Wiener, Wiener. Can you really take anybody seriously that's a wiener? By the way, it's on Amazon Prime. One of the best political documentaries, if not the best. The story of Anthony Weiner and beautiful Uma Abedin, or Uma Wiener. Hi, my name is Uma Wiener. You're a wiener? No, Uma Eater. No, not Uma Eater. Uma Wiener. It's a tough challenge. So think about when we're talking about racism and sexism. Was there a man besides Reverend Wright or Bill Ayers in Barack Obama's life that was really significant? No, of course not. He was raised and he was influenced by very powerful woke women. Michelle Obama, obviously not a fan of conservatism. Obviously not a fan of republicanism. Michelle Obama, Valerie Jarrett, and Susan Rice. So you can't say there's racism and sexism in our society today. Basically what Uma is saying is that if you don't vote for the woman, the female, the lady, then you're a bad person. You're racist, sexist, etc. We all know that that's not the case. But that's how you pretty much weight the playing field. Let's take a listen one more time. Remember, Uma was married to the Wiener. And by the way, if Uma was not seduced by Anthony Weiner and didn't put Hillary Clinton stuff on Anthony Weiner's laptop, and if Anthony Weiner wasn't soliciting girls that were not Uma on Twitter, on X, showing us, for a lack of a better term, his Oscar Mayer Wiener, family-friendly show, we're speaking in code. Remember, this guy was on TV all the time. I believe, and nothing against us, he's selling like, I don't know, working in like a hardware store now. No kidding. This guy was could have been the governor of New York, could have been the mayor of New York City, could have been a lot of things, but it was all about his, you know what I'm going to say, Wiener. But let's get back to this big conversation between soon-to-be Mrs. Soros and Valerie Jarrett, that if you don't vote for Kamala, if you don't buy the act, then you're a bad person.
We were at a very exciting chapter, I think, for our party a few weeks ago together at the Democratic Convention in Chicago. We are just 60 days away from this another historic election. You know exactly what it took to elect our first black male president. And you're also aware of the role that sexism and misogyny and racism has played in our political cycles. So I'm curious, do you think that America's evolved, watching what we witnessed in 2016 and the role particularly that sexism played then? Have we evolved to have women in leadership roles in this country? And if not, what do you think still needs to change?
Well, in short, Huma, yes, I think we have. And certainly no one knows better than you how hard everyone worked back in 2016. And we've learned a lot since then. And I think what Hillary Clinton did is she shattered the glass ceiling, but it didn't quite break.
No, Hillary Clinton was a loser. And Uma, the former Uma Wiener, you cost Hillary Clinton the chance to shatter the glass ceiling. And I believe it was Lars Larson or Kevin Miller or someone else that it's very tough when we have people saying we want to treat men and women equally, and then when a man comes back at somebody, then what happens next? They're sexist, racist, and everything else. I've often said, and maybe this is why I just kind of sit in my little room by myself as the smoke continues to percolate in here, at 580-5436-580-KIDO, that it's the hypocrisy of the feminist movement. By the way, where's the feminist movement with helping Riley Gaines and everybody else? They attack, but when you treat the libs like people like Rick Santorum did, remember what happened to Rick Santorum? Oh, he went after Hillary Clinton, rightfully so. And then, boom, he was a bad Rick Santorum. Amazing. Oh, no, that was the guy that looked like Rick Santorum. You know these Republicans, they all look the same. Kevin Miller in the morning. Don't forget our friends at Beacon Plumbing. They say stop freaking, call, talk about how you can protect yourself and keeping Idaho safe. Attorney General, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm okay. And, you know, we always want to talk to you about the state of the Republic as someone who has served at the state level, the congressional level, the party level, and now back again at the state level. How do you see the state of civil liberties in our country today, sir?
Well, it's difficult to see. The Biden administration continues to take away our liberties. We see what's happening nationally, what's happening internationally. Actually, on the way in, I was just listening to a podcast about how authoritarian countries continue to take away people's rights. Freedom of speech is in jeopardy all throughout the United States, where people are trying to tell each other what they can and they cannot say. And it's always good to know that we live in Idaho and that we enjoy freedoms, and that, that's why you have so many people moving from so many states coming to our state, because they know and they need the freedoms that we have here in Idaho. We need to keep protecting them.
What's it like for you both personally and professionally as someone who you are still in the national arena fighting for the rights, fighting to make sure that kids have a level playing field, that, we're talking about bathrooms and everything else. And I know you can't talk about specific cases, but then again, I still go back to you trying to hold Eric Holder accountable and him, ripping Idaho. And, do you ever look back and, just look at that perspective and how it aids you in your quest to make sure that people are safe, sir?
That's a funny thing. I have a funny story about that. So the exchange, and I don't know if every listener remembers that, but when I was a brand new congressman, Eric Holder came into Congress and he was testifying, and I was on the Judiciary Committee. And I just asked him about all the scandals. There were all these issues where the media kept saying that there were no scandals on the Obama administration. And I asked him about all the scandals that happened in his administration and what Eric Holder was doing and why no one was holding him accountable. And he just looked at me and said, well, I don't know how they do things in Idaho or wherever you're from. And that became kind of a meme before there were memes about, Idaho, wherever you're from. But about 2 years ago, I was at the airport, and I can't even remember what state it was, and Eric Holder was there, and I thought, there's no way he remembers me. And he looks up, he goes, hey, Congressman Labrador, how are you? Okay. So obviously he remembered the exchange, and he was actually quite nice. I was a little bit surprised. But, my job has always been to hold people in power accountable. And I think I have only one duty as an elected official, and that's to keep my promises to the people that I serve. I did it when I was in the state legislature. I did it as a congressman, and I'm doing now as an attorney general. And I think the only thing we take with ourselves after we die is our integrity, and whether we have kept our word to the people that we love and to the people that we serve. And it's incredible to see, as Attorney General, I have tried to do that. I have done that every single day. And you see in the media and the establishment in Idaho, they don't like it because I'm holding powerful people to account. And they come after me, and I'm going to keep fighting. I'm going to keep fighting until the day I die, until the day I'm done with this office or any other office that I do. I'm going to keep the promises that I make. And I think that's why people support me. That's why people like what I do. But it sometimes gets a little tiring to get these accusations and all these different things that happen. But I'm loving the job, and it's such a tremendous honor to serve the people of Idaho.
Well, I think a lot of people don't understand that, again, working as an attorney and then everything else, and then you decide how the state is going to be represented, and very different perspective from your predecessor.
Very different. I said on the campaign trail that my job was going to be to represent the people, to let the people of Idaho know what their duties, their rights, and their responsibilities, but more importantly, to let the bureaucracy know what the law was. The prior Attorney General thought that his job was to legally justify the bureaucracy. I don't think that's what the statutes say. I don't think that's what the Constitution says, and definitely it's not my duty. My oath of office is to the Constitution and to the laws of the state of Idaho and the Constitution and the laws of the United States. So I see my job as making sure that the agencies and the departments in the state of Idaho understand what the limitations of their power are, not to encourage them to take on more power. And some people in government don't like that. Right. Because they have been used to doing whatever they want, to ignoring the law, to saying, hey, we don't care what the legislature said. And I have said, no, the legislature passed a law, and you have to follow that law. It's just really simple. You can't just get around the law just because you don't like what the legislature did. And honestly, most of the people that I work with, I would say 95% of people that I work with understand that. But there's a small number of people that are very loud, and the media loves to talk about them, that did not like the fact that I told them, no, you can't do that. That's not what the law allows you to do.
A final thought before we get to break, and then we have our special guest on to talk about a topic that obviously everyone should be concerned about, sir. But you take a look at Biden, and you've known the president for quite some time. You, again, a founding member of the Freedom Caucus. Barack Obama, Eric Holder's favorite guy from the West. Does Joe Biden have a thing about Idaho? Because he seems to focus a lot of his attention of challenging us legally, sir.
So I don't know if it's Joe Biden, because I don't think Joe Biden knows what the heck's going on. So I don't think it has anything to do with Joe Biden. But the DOJ has a thing about Idaho, and what the thing that they have about Idaho is that you have a very conservative legislature, but you don't have the most conservative judiciary. So they know that in the federal courts, if they come to Idaho, the judges are not as conservative as the people in the state. So we pass very conservative laws, and they challenge those. And in the judiciary, they tend to win in some of those cases. But then we also have the Ninth Circuit that is very liberal. And so for them, it's like a perfect storm, right, where they have conservative legislation but liberal judiciary, and they know that they can get some victories. In the past, the prior Attorney General would just say, hey, there's nothing I can do about it because we're in the Ninth Circuit. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to start challenging these things in the Supreme Court. And yes, we lose some cases, but most of the time we win. We have some great victories because we're going beyond what was being done before. We're actually doing things more aggressively, and we're even limiting the scope of some of the rulings that are coming out of the judiciary here in Idaho and the Ninth Circuit. But that requires a lot of creativity, a lot of smart attorneys, and a lot of aggressiveness in the way that we do our job, which is very different than how it was being done before.
More coming up with the Attorney General. Next, Kevin Miller. Is this your favorite job?
I really love it. I don't know that I can say it's my favorite job because I loved being a legislator. There was something fun about the legislative process and, you know, the back and forth. Being a state legislator was for a long time my favorite job because I was a citizen legislator. I still had a regular job, and then I would spend 3 or 4 months in Boise working on legislative stuff, and then I would go back to the real world and practice law. But this has been a very enjoyable job. It's the most difficult job that I've done. But it's every day there's something new that happens. And what we're about to talk about is one of the things that I enjoy the most about the job.
Well, and we have a very special guest.
We do. So we have Nick Edwards, who's the commander of our ICAC unit in the state of Idaho. And ICAC is one of those things that not a lot of people understand, that the Attorney General's office deals with internet crimes against children. And I want him to explain a little bit what he does and what the unit does. And but it's probably the thing that I'm most proud of in the office, that we're saving children. We're actually, you hear politicians all the time that I'm doing it for the children, right? Yes. This is actually something that we get to do, that we're literally saving children almost on a daily basis, because we have a unit that's looking out for kids, looking out for these horrible, going after these horrible criminals that are perpetrating crimes against children. So I introduce you, Nick Edwards, and I want him to tell you.
I want you to conduct the interview if you don't mind.
Me? Oh, great.
Wait a minute. One of my favorite stories about you, sir, is you love the area so much that Meet the Press would actually do the interview. So you're taking on David Gregory while you're at the Spirit of Boise Balloon Classic. So, I mean...
That was a fun one,
right.
Yes.
If you can handle Meet the Press, I think you can handle Nick here, sir.
All right, but I'm not a good interviewer.
Good morning.
Nick, great to have you with us. We talked earlier, and we thank the Attorney General for having you here. This is a topic that, like a school shooting, none of us want to talk about, but we have people that are going after, that are targeting kids in Idaho and across the country.
We do, absolutely. So, I'm the ICAC commander, the Internet Crimes Against Children commander. There are 61 Internet Crimes Against Children task forces across the country. We are one of 61. Some states have multiple task forces. Idaho has one. And inside that task force are law enforcement officers, both within the Attorney General's office and partners across the state of Idaho. So it's a good team.
Sure.
So, Nick, tell us a little bit about what you do. What exactly are Internet Crimes Against Children? And as you know, I tell you guys, do your job. I don't want to hear the details, because some of the stuff you do is pretty horrendous. The things that you see, the things that you have to deal with every single day. But can you please let everybody know a
Absolutely.
little bit?
Yeah, so it might make a little sense understanding how we get our cases. And so nationally, what happens is internet providers, social media sites are all required by federal law to report to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. We call that NCMEC. They have to report if somebody is suspected of uploading, downloading, possessing, distributing, or enticing children or child pornography. And so those internet providers across the country are reporting to NCMEC. When they get those, they then send them to the appropriate state. And so at the Attorney General's office, we are the clearinghouse for all of those what we call cyber tips that come in. And then we filter those out to our investigators and to law enforcement partners across the state. We get, on average, in the state of Idaho, this may surprise you, we get roughly 60 to 70 cyber tips a week. And most of the cyber tips that we get in the Attorney General's office are a result of Snapchat, surprisingly. So they are, in Idaho, probably the number one reporter of stuff that we get.
And without getting too graphic, what are some of the things that you're seeing?
So we do see a lot of sexual or child sexual abuse material. Both videos, images. We also see enticement, where suspects are trying to entice children online via chat, maybe Kick Messenger or some of these messaging apps that are out there, and those are a lot of what we get.
And how many arrests per week do you guys usually?
Great question.
Yeah.
We've seen great success this last 8 months. We've made a few changes within the task force. Right now, on average, we arrest 4 people a month. The understanding that these investigations are a bit complicated. They require a lot of paperwork in the form of search warrants, preservation letters for accounts, subpoenas, things like that. And so And then not to mention, there's a whole side of forensic investigating. We have, in the Attorney General's office, we have 3 full-time forensic investigators that help us get through some of those electronic devices and computers that we may seize in search warrants. So these are complicated, but that's a big raise from past years to date. We made an arrest yesterday here in the Boise Valley, but we, on average, or this year alone, we're up to 36 arrests this year, which is well over double what we did last year.
And Kevin, one of the first things I did when I came, because as you know, in my past life, I was a criminal defense lawyer.
Right.
I was kind of one of those anomalies where I was a conservative criminal defense lawyer. So I believe in the criminal defense system. I believe in making sure that you get the state to prove its case. But I also believe in law enforcement and believe in protecting the citizens of the state of Idaho. And one of the first things I did is I talked to people in the criminal defense, in the criminal unit, in criminal law unit, and I started realizing that we could do things better in that unit. So the first thing I did is I got a new criminal law chief in the office, and then we started talking about the ICAC unit and some of the changes that needed to be made. Because when I started as Attorney General, there was a 1,400 to 1,600 tip backlog. I mean, if you think about it, he says that we got 40 to 50 per week. We were behind about by 1,400 to 1,500 every single year, which means that there were 1,400 or 1,500 cases that were not being even looked at when in the Attorney General's office. So I said, how do we fix that? And I was told by the criminal law chief, Jeff Nye, that there was a way to do that. And one of the things he wanted to do is to make him Nick, the commander of that unit, and they said that they would have a way to fix that backlog. Well, he made him the commander, and within 6 months, we got rid of that backlog, and now we don't have a backlog. And I want you to explain a little bit what that means.
Yeah, so as we get these cyber tips from the National Center, what we did is we brought on 3 full-time analysts, and these 3 ladies, they look at every single cyber tip that we get from the National Center. They review every single one of them, and they do that on a daily basis. These cyber tips come in every day. They review them to make sure, that if in fact they believe a crime was committed, they then assign it out to an investigator. Or if there's just not enough information in the actual cyber tip, they close it. We close about half of the stuff that we get. The other half gets assigned out to an investigator. And I think it's important to also recognize we've leaned heavily into our partners around the state. We've got great relationships with almost all of the police departments and sheriff's offices across the state. These affiliates, we have 10 full-time affiliates, 3 over in East Idaho, 1 down in the Twin Falls area with Rupert PD, here in Boise, and then even up north with Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls, Lewiston, or Moscow. So we've got great partners, and then all of the other agencies as well that are also helping when we have these cases. I think they all recognize this as a priority.
As it should be. So, Nick, with the Attorney General's permission here on KIDO Talk Radio, what would you say to parents, A, to help them keep their kids safe, and B, the ones that say, this can't happen to my kid?
Be involved. Be involved as a parent. Understand what your kids are doing online. There's nothing more than this is a parenting issue in my mind. The dangers of being online. Online forums can be great. Social media sites can be great. They're great things, but be involved and know what your kids are doing.
Well, that's tough for us because, again, I don't want to date the Attorney General, but for someone like me, I mean, these kids are digital. Like, we grew up riding bikes or throwing a ball. These kids, they can do PowerPoint in the first grade.
Yeah. It's also educating, right? We have a lot of resources, both, the preventative part of parenting, teaching your children, having those conversations about what your children are doing online, what's appropriate, what's not appropriate. And then if your child does make a mistake or do something or accesses something, then how to help on the back end. There's a number of resources out there with websites like Take It Down that can help parents remove content that might have been uploaded or distributed. So there's a number of resources. Part of the ICAC task force is also prevention, community outreach, and education. And we go around to schools all the time providing presentations on what to do online that's safe, what not to do online, and where that line is.
Yeah. What about your commitment? And, again, rewiring this whole task force to make it more effective?
Well, the other thing we did is that we actually decided to start prosecuting cases internally. We used to investigate the cases and then send them to the local prosecutors. I actually assigned 2 full-time prosecutors to start prosecuting these cases. And that made an immediate impact on what we're doing. And one of the things that we have done several times, and obviously we can't talk about the specific cases, but several times we've actually been able to go in and save children that are being abused right now. Because a lot of these internet videos that you see, they're downloaded somewhere else or they're made somewhere else, and what you're catching is the person who's watching the video. But a couple of times, more than a couple of times, the unit has been able to realize that the child is being violated in the home of the person who's watching it, and they've been able to go in and actually save these children. And that's actually, nothing brings more satisfaction than that. When I got a call, when they said we got him and we got the child and we took the child out of the home, there's nothing more satisfying than that.
Final thoughts for both of you?
The ICAC task force, I'm fairly new to this role. I've been in this role 8 months. It is easily the most rewarding position I've been in law enforcement. I've been in law enforcement in Idaho for 20 years. I've been in narcotics. I've been a school resource officer. I've been in patrol. Being in the ICAC task force is super rewarding because the very thing is rescuing kids. It's great.
How do we get a hold of you if we have a problem?
So you Google search. There's obviously a link to the Attorney General's website, to the Idaho ICAC Task Force. You could Google search that as well. We've got a website, Facebook, Idaho ICAC Task Force.
Good.
Well, thanks for having us. I think this is such an important topic, and as a parent, as a grandparent, stay close to your kids. It's hard. I mean, I was not a perfect father. I was gone a lot when I was in Congress, and I see now, and I had children who didn't have the internet and didn't have phones, and then I had my younger kids had the phone, and you see how that affects them. So it's really important to stay close to your kids and do the best that you can. And I think something that I wish I would have known better as a father, and now as a grandfather, I'm learning more. When your kids make a mistake, love them and try to help them walk through it. Don't be so judgmental. I may have been a little bit too judgmental sometimes.
Not you, sir. Not you or me. No, we're not judgmental at all, sir. Thank you both. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
General with Nick on how to keep your kids safe. So be it. Got a text from Tea Party Bob. Kevin Miller, tell me about the sex toys on the supermarket shelves or something. Well, thank you, Tea Party Bob, for being the quote-unquote sex toys police. We appreciate that. Phone numbers, again, as we've given it to you. A lot going on here today. Obviously, your reaction to the school shooting in Georgia. What does it mean for everybody? Also, Donald Trump, President Trump, going toe-to-toe with Sean Hannity last night, getting ready for the big debate with Kamala Harris. Hard to believe that here you have Kamala Harris, who in fact is just, to quote a good old SNL skit, not so ready for prime time. And what do you mean by that, Kevin Miller? Not so ready for prime time when here we have at 580-5436-580-KIDO, her hitting the heavy bag, getting ready to go to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and do all sorts of craziness with this debate. And, we've played a bunch of clips from her. We have shown you this, but it's the simple economics. You go to the grocery store, and for me, whether it's Diane or Steve at the Albertsons and Star, along with everybody else, when you go there and you talk to these folks, they live the same nightmare that we do. Or if it's, my son-in-law, Ryan, at Fred Meyer or anywhere else where people just sit back and, they have to work more and the people at the grocery store have to pay for the groceries. Legitimately, who in their right mind would ever vote for these people? Who in their right mind? That's something that we need to hear from you about. And remember, we've got that great charitable event going on tomorrow at Topgolf from 2 to 8. They're looking to adopt some dogs. They're looking for you to spend some money with these silent auction items from local businesses. And, of course, they're looking for you to help these local shelters that need a lot of help. And that's what, in the end, that's why we're here. You know, almost 30 years ago, and I haven't made 30, I will tell you, I haven't made 30 years here. I've made 15 years here. I didn't even get a gold star. Sweet William, are you giving me a gold star? You're giving me a check next to my name like they used to do on the chalkboard?
Without voter.
Sweet William, Sweet, why are you pressing buttons here? We're trying to do a show. What's that? Nobody even knows what a chalkboard is. What, you want me to try to be relatable to the old people? Well, we are the old people. Where, you were sitting in class, you're going to explain this, you're being very disrespectful to the audience. So what he's trying to say is, how many times when you were a kid and maybe you have this antiquated thing called a chalkboard that they would put your name on it, and if you messed up, got a check mark next to it? Yeah, that is so unrelatable. Go back to your Palm Pilot, please. At 580-5436, 580-KID. We're talking about real serious issues. And don't go back to that you loved being the audio-visual assistant in middle school when they called it junior high. More on that in a minute. Kevin Miller. Sex toys and gosh knows what else. Oh, I know he is just mad at me right now hearing this. Let's go to Henry Rogers joining us from the Daily Caller. Mr. Rogers, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you, sir.
Hey, thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
No, well, when we take a look at the Daily Caller, you guys are out there fighting the good fight. For people that are unfamiliar with the Caller, can you share with us why they should check it out?
We've been around for over a decade now, and we've been breaking amazing news, following around the Trump campaign, following everyone, exposing the left, and I've been with them for about 8 years, and I would say we do the best original reporting in conservative media, so definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, and, I was looking at your X feed, and there you are going one-on-one with President Trump. What was that like, as being like a normal human and talking to the most famous man on planet Earth, sir?
Yeah, I've had the pleasure of flying with President Trump many times on his plane, and having McDonald's with him up there in the sky, and watching his massive TV and all of that. It's honestly quite incredible. But the one thing I will say about flying with Trump is you always think of him as someone who as the most famous person in the world. But when you sit down with him one-on-one, he's really just such a nice, common, just great guy, down-to-earth guy who treats you with respect, asks you questions about yourself, and it's just kind of interesting when you sit down with him because he's so curious about your thoughts and the people's thoughts. So I think the media doesn't do a good job telling that story.
Henry Rogers, Chief National Correspondent, Daily Caller. One more fanboy question. Does the Quarter Pounder just taste better with President Trump?
I actually made a tweet about it the other day. I actually think McDonald's tastes 100 times better on Trump Force One, and I'm a big McDonald's guy. I try to, my wife tries to not get me to eat as much of it as I like to, but I will say that the food 100% tastes better, especially McDonald's up on Trump Force One, 40,000 feet in the sky. So it's pretty incredible.
Well, Mr. Rogers, let's talk about your exclusive concerning the media and what the president's son, Don Jr., has to say.
Well, yeah, I think that he's absolutely right. I was talking to him about, how well J.D. Vance is doing. He was a big backer of J.D. Vance behind the scenes for the vice president choice for Trump. And, I was just trying to get his take on that. And when we were on the phone yesterday, he mentioned to me the fact that, the Walsh family is not really getting the Mary Trump treatment. Mary Trump is the former president's niece, who, would go on TV and slander the president and their family and act like, and the media would act like she knew everything and that she was always around the family and was well connected. But, on the phone yesterday, Trump Jr. told me that he actually had not seen her in over 25 years. And the first time he saw her was for about, an hour at the White House while his father was president. and it was a very brief interaction. But, essentially his point was she has no idea what's going on with their family dynamic or what's going on in their family. But for some reason, the media is eating it up like she does, like she has a clue. Meanwhile, I don't know if if you guys have seen this. Meanwhile, you have Walsh's brother and 8 members at least of his family who have now, gone on record and, put out photos or whatever of the fact that they're, endorsing President Trump. And the media is completely silent about that. But, I mean, that's kind of a big story that, Walsh's own brother's advising to the American people to not vote for his own brother. That's stuff that if this narrative was flipped, it would be so much different. This would be, front page news to these crazy liberals. So, honestly, I agree with Trump Jr. on that. I think it's an interesting point, and I do think it's very, very telling that the media is not covering the fact that Tim Walsh's brother and family has flipped on him.
Well, Mr. Rogers, it's odd when and I don't even know if odd is the correct description, when Walsh lied about being a command sergeant major, lied about going to Afghanistan, and Dana Bash just gave him a pass on that. I don't think that Jim Acosta would do that to the former president, sir.
No, it's been absolutely ridiculous to see the way that he's been covered. Honestly, the guy's a freak, and everyone needs to be talking about his background, his weird obsession with China. He's a really, really bizarre guy. His terrible COVID policies that destroyed the state. It's almost like they didn't vet the guy. It's almost like there was no vetting process that went on when they were scrambling to find Harris's VP nominee. It's almost like it's what happened, because there's been so much dirt that's come out on this guy now that it's like, how could you have picked him? There was definitely someone else that could have been a better choice. There had to have been. So, yeah, I think that more will come out about Walsh. I think that it'll be interesting to see him debate Vance. I think that Trump will destroy Kamala in this debate any time that she gets off script, doesn't have notes, doesn't have something to read off of. It's a disaster, no matter how soft the questions are. So I think that the honeymoon stage is probably over for them at this point. The media coverage will obviously still always be rigged in their favor, but I think that, the more they get off script, the worse it'll be for them.
Mr. Rogers, final question here for everybody here in Idaho on KIDO Talk Radio. How do you guys function? Because the media wants to zap you guys, and again, over a decade of the Daily Caller, and people are lumping your great organization in with other people, and some people say a lot of crazy things, and we're all lumped into the vast right-wing conspiracy. But commercially, how big of a challenge is it for a conservative operation to thrive?
I mean, it's tough. I mean, you have a target on your back at all times, and that's just how it is and how it's always going to be. It's something that I really. What you have to do is what I tell people is you just have to stop caring, because these people who write these articles, these hit pieces on us or me or whoever, they don't matter. They're unimportant losers who are cooped up in their apartments in some depressing city. Eating DoorDash, and they're honestly just miserable people, childless, unmarried, miserable people who hate us. And what I always try to do is just completely ignore them and laugh at them, and that's what I'm going to continue to do, because all the other stuff doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
Mr. Rogers, anything else that we should be looking out for? We appreciate you joining us, and again, these technical things happen, so we appreciate the content.
No, I appreciate you guys for having me on. I would just say stay tuned on thedailycaller.com. We always have a lot of good stuff coming, and I'll be posting an article later today for more from my conversation with Donald Trump Jr. Last night. So there's going to be another good article out later tonight on thedailycaller.com. So stay tuned for that, guys.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys. Always appreciate it.
All right, there we have it. Henry Rogers joining us. I mean, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, I don't know if there's any way that we could really top that. I mean, we could go to the distinguished gentleman from New Meadows, Idaho, and I'm sure that he would say this.
You really just push the right button, my friend.
Tea Party Bob, thank you for calling, and thank you for listening to KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller.
You know, you're on my list of the 5 friends I have, but very slowly but surely, that's moving further and further away if you keep this up. You realize that?
Well, I was just replaying what you said to me. You were talking about sex toys, and then I don't know if it was reference to Anthony Weiner or something like that.
Message.
I don't know if that was in reference to Anthony Weiner or what, but...
No, it wasn't. It was in reference to child abuse. Anyway.
Well, you might want to clarify. But in fairness to you, you might want to clarify the comments, because this is a concern that Tess has brought up, that we have sex toys that are being sold in department stores, according to her.
Well, I'll tell you what. I just sent a portfolio out to one of our state representatives who has some pull in Idaho. You would not believe what's in this folder. I mean, you just would not believe the toys and things that are out there that are accessible, and nobody seems to want to do anything about it. And I think it's disgusting. It has to change, and I'm glad Labrador is doing something about it, because nobody else seems to care. And I mean even our legislators. Would you mind if I made a short public announcement, since you have quite a number of listeners in the land of the free and the home of no traffic congestion?
Do I have a choice?
No. You know, for people of Adams and Washington counties, there will be a public meeting 6 p.m. on September 9th at the American Legion Hall, 2046 Highway 95 in Council, Idaho, to inform voters about Proposition 1, which deals with ranked choice voting. Thank you for my time for that. Just a few things that are important this morning that I care to talk about.
Wait a minute. But wait, there's more?
Yes, there's more. There's always more. Always more.
Okay.
You know, I'm on a roll here.
Yes.
You know, it appears... you got to keep interrupting me. I can see it's coming. You know, it appears the liberal media is going full bore and promoting Kamala, but as they used to say, where's the beef? Everything that she has proposed is either taken from Donald Trump or so far off the economic map. If she's elected, you can bet we will end up, as Trump says, in a disastrous depression, much like 1929. And I do agree with that. You know, it appears that everything hinges on this debate. And if she performs like she did in her interview with CNN, you can bet that would be the final step for her fall from favor. Like I have been saying, the people that are attending her rallies and saying they will vote for her are very low information voters. And the odds of Trump winning have become more positive in betting circles, and we're learning that many of these new polls that are coming out have been skewed by sampling less Republicans to improve Kamala's numbers. You know, I don't think for a minute that the big chain companies aren't playing games like the Amazon little Alexa forte, giving reasons why you should vote for Kamala. You know, Amazon says it was an error that was fixed, but I doubt that it was an error. We are going to see a full court press in the next 2 months, so get ready for a bunch of new attacks on Trump. I do think it's funny that we have, once again, the Russia claims of election interference, where Russia is supposedly putting millions into conservative coffers for Trump while Putin is endorsing Kamala. Personally, I think Putin is worried that Kamala will give cause for a nuclear war, and I don't blame him. And I want to thank Attorney General Labrador, and thank you for having him on this morning. He's doing one heck of a job and is making a difference, a real difference in the area of child abuse. All you have to do is read the number of arrests that his office has been responsible for in the past 2 years. Labrador is the real deal, and he has done more to protect the people of Idaho in the last 2 years than Wasden did in his last 20-year reign. And as far as the Georgia shooting, my bet is we're going to find out that this child is either mentally disturbed and possibly even on SSRIs, which I have talked about many, many times in the past. But you can bet that the Dems, once again, they're going to be out there to get the guns. Kevin, great show as usual. Great guest as usual.
Now, before you go, you usually send me a message, so we have that individual that's standing by.
You want me to send you a message?
Do you want to give a preview of who's coming up next.
Well, who's coming up next?
You know.
I do?
Well, I'll let it go then. You'll be surprised.
Now we're even.
Fair enough. Have a good one.
Take care, my friend.
Our great friend, Tea Party Bob. Here he is, everybody. Everyone, he's apple pie.
Oh my. Oh my. It's never going to end. As long as there's psychedelic drugs in the world and all kinds of weird media that children can watch and games they can play, and things are out of control, and you got an ex-president running around that just ought to be in a jail cell, you're going to have crazy things happening in this world, and there's nothing Tea Party Bob can do about it. Boy, he's about as loony as they come. Is he ever going to, is he ever going to stop politicking? Never. Does this guy ever take a breath? Jesus, Mary. Oofta. I tell you. And this debate, there's not going to be any debate. Trump's going to stand up there looking like a bumbling idiot. He doesn't have his teleprompter, doesn't have his notes. So he'll probably go off on some fantasy love affair he has with Nancy Pelosi. And Kamala will be giving him weird stares like, who is this guy and why am I debating him? He's not all here. I got to ask you one question.
People say the same about you.
What people? Name one.
Terry.
Speaking of naming one.
People that I meet on the streets all the time.
Have you seen that pig factory over in China? 26 stories tall.
It's a lot of pigs.
Immaculate. Completely clean and sanitized. Unbelievable. You got to Google it and look at it.
Biggie,
26
biggie, biggie.
stories.
Biggie.
Yeah, and we were the pig capital of the world, and they keep building stuff like that. We won't be for long. We got to think you got to raise a pig in a sloppy pen behind the barn.
You're in trouble here. You've got 20 seconds left.
All I can say is a vote for Kamala is a vote for sanity once again. Stay fired up, my fellow believers.
Yeah, I'm a ham and egger.
God bless everybody and keep the faith.